City to nobody. Hey, men down home. Asabi ala wom down home. I late to a fear on the town home. At the panel bobu on the tobo. Hey, put your right side BN. I visit say na get 10 billion. Bagare, la more Casio. My one task I feel the patio. Solo kuya de. Ya yeti ono ntira da ya to mu shasamali ni nyomo no onya tekum ana mo pede me kanu go beregum foto se pense di o je bete me pede me nyimo go kwetiri to ye bi ha mi kwoti fufu na go to de solo kuye de.
Testing the mic, testing the mic. Can anybody hear me? Got to do that mic check first before we get rolling. Okay, great. So y'all heard the music, right? You heard the music in the intro? Okay. All right, so now that everything is good to go, thank you, Jada. Thank you, Miss Optimistic, for coming in. I really do appreciate it. We have 4 people in right now. Looks like we had a few people drop off. They probably won't come back till later. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. So I'm just going to go ahead and read off a little bit. If you saw the description, basically, I discovered Cornelius Desha, a.k.a. Oshay Duke Jackson, around the spring or summer of 2016. And at that time, I was following O'Shea for one reason, and only one reason. It may be a selfish reason, but it's just one reason. Because he was from California, and some of the topics related and regarding California related to me because, well, I'm from California. So, but at the time, he's bad-mouthing Africans. That's something I didn't like. So while I was watching those bad-mouthing African videos on his channel, I noticed some other types of videos on his channel, and that was the gender wars. So, I could relate to a few things about the gender wars, but I didn't care for the gender war part of it. So basically, what I'd found out that it wasn't just Black Americans at that time. It was a lot of white Americans as well that were going against each other. And it was really, it wasn't like the kind of thing that we're talking about feminism through the news, or, you have friends that are feminists and you have men that don't like feminine ways or feminist ways and all that other stuff. It wasn't like that. What I found was that I thought these guys had issues with just getting to find the right type of woman and stuff like that. It only took about maybe a year and a half. I realized that, man, this is really bad. And I noticed that the women that they're fighting against, the women that were talking about that were online, they were doing the exact same thing as the men, like O'Shea and all these other guys doing the exact same thing, but even a little bit worse. Both sides were bad, right? And come to find out, as we go on through this video. Basically, Oshay started noticing my channel, and what my channel was, my old channel, which was called Junk Paul Video. And Junk Paul Video had two reasons to be up. The first one was I wanted to test out the community guidelines of YouTube to see if YouTube would actually follow their own community guidelines. And I would say maybe 40% of the time they actually did not. They actually did not. The other part of my channel at that time was reaction. And mostly I was reacting to scammers because I hate scamming with a passion. Scamming is something that really gets on my nerves. It destroys people's lives, or it destroys people's lives for a certain amount of time, if not throughout the rest of their entire life, depending on how the scam went about. Old people getting scammed, college students getting scammed. You know, there's all different types of scams, not just the Indian scams, you know, on the phone or through emails and stuff like that. Any type of scams. So there was a few people that I was reacting to, mainly this one particular person, mostly. And then I had a few other topics that I was talking about. And then I also included on the channel my experiences within Africa. You know, me being married in Africa, 20 years, by the way, since this 14th of July has been 20 years. So kudos to me and my wife. We actually lasted that long. My great experiences there, you know, the alternatives, between living in America and Africa, like not just the good and the bad things, but the advantages and disadvantages on both sides. So now the video that I'm going to be reacting to today is on one of Oshay's channels, right? And this is him interviewing me about 9 years ago. So this was the 17th of May, 2017, right? And this is going to be the beginning. I'm not going to make a series of Oshay reactions. What I'm going to do is make some Oshay reaction videos based on the reason why he came to Africa. The real reason why Oshay Duke Jackson is in Africa. It's for selfish reasons. It's not for good reasons. You can say all the good things you want about Oshay, about a few things that he has done, but the things that he has done bad is far outweighs what he's done good. He's done very little good. He's a cancer in Africa, and I regret ever helping him. I regret. So in this video, it's mainly going to be about me. So this interview, he has a lot of questions he's going to be asking me. So we're gonna do a deep dive, and I really have to go through this. This is like an hour and 42-minute interview, and I have to go through some of it because at this time StreamYard didn't exist. This was Google Hangouts, and Google Hangouts had a lot of bad audio issues, especially with the guest, more so than the host. So you'll hear me cutting out a few times. And I'll try to remember some of the stuff. Some of the stuff is obvious, but I'll try to remember some of the things that I missed out. If it doesn't make sense already, some things I'll just skip because it's going to make sense what I said, even though you don't hear it. Okay. We got a few more people. We got Politics is in the house. Let me try to get you on the screen here. What is that? Oh, okay. I'm actually in the wrong screen myself. Hold on one moment. All right. Thank you for being in. I also see Otto718. Thank you for being here as well. We got 7 people. Go ahead and get the likes up on the video. And this is the video that I'm gonna react on today. Get it up on the screen here. Okay, so you can see there at the bottom, this is the Oshay Vlogcast channel. And the reason why he has what they call the Vlogcast channel, it was either late 2016 or early 2017. Somebody flagged a bunch of his videos, and I'm pretty sure at that particular time is for hate speech. Not positive about it, but he did a live, and he said, and basically what he did, he hid every single one of his videos. So he has a lot of old videos on his Oshay Duke Jackson channel that he still has up. So a lot of the old ones you'll never see. So he's still got a lot of videos on there now, but he used to have probably maybe 800 to 1,000, I would say, and those videos are gone. They're still in private, but they're like gone. You can't see them because he's not sure exactly, from what I remember, which videos got flagged exactly. There's probably more than one, so he's playing it safe. Just made sure that probably a third video didn't get striked by somebody reporting it. So on that note, what he did was start the Oshay Vlogcast channel until his 90 days of his couple of strikes rolled over, and he can start using his Oshay Duke Jackson channel again. So here on the 17th of May, 17 is when this video is out, when it came in to be. It's should you date an African woman? So what a lot of these guys are complaining about with the manosphere, and he owned a website called the Negro Manosphere. And I wanted to go ahead and just, you know, help out, because me and Oshay, and he's gonna bring it up here a little bit in this video, is that we had conversations over the phone before we had this video. We had quite a few conversations over the phone. So we had each other's personal phone numbers at one time. I didn't consider him a friend of mine. I considered him an associate via YouTube. So I was starting to like him because he stopped bad mouthing Africans. He really calmed down before he asked me for an interview. And he asked me for that interview back in January, I believe it was, but it could have been even in as far as March or April, because I don't remember when. I just remember on one of his live streams, I was in the chat, and he said, contact me so we can get an interview going, right? And basically what he told me over the phone is my Africa videos is what caught his attention. My good experiences in Africa. But we're going to get more into that in other live streams. I'll give more detail about that. Let's see, you've got Nana in the house. Thank you for being in. So it's not like I haven't ever told people this story before, because I have. The thing is I never reacted to it on video in this way that I'm going to do today. So I am actually the source of why Oshay Duke Jackson is in Africa. Nobody else but me. I'm not trying to take credit in a way to say that, oh, it was me. I knew him first, whatever. And no, nothing like that. He's going to say things in this video. He's going to reveal to you why he sought me out a little bit, not full detail, but he's going to give you enough details to know that I'm the source. Okay. So he used me to know how to move around in Africa. That's what it was. I see Sala M23. Thank you for being in. And I'm going to let anybody use this video without any issues for any reactions. I know some people will. But again, I'm the source. Slide TV, Slice 75 TV, whatever. He's somebody that used to hang out. He has his own reaction channel now for quite a few years. And him, like me, we used to be like associates with Oshay, and Oshay has this tendency of falling out with just about everybody. But when Oshay explains it, it's always everybody else's fault 100%. He's never the fault of his own. So again, this is going to be the beginning of why he's actually in Africa. Even though it's an interview about me, this is the beginning. This is where it all started. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go to the video.
All right, you guys, welcome back to another.
Now, I need to know real quick, did you hear him speaking before I continue any further with this? Yeah, okay, Nana, I know you will. I know you're going to talk about it. Let's see. We also have Nikki in the house. Nikki with an I. Thank you for coming in. Let's see if Nikki with the Y is going to come in. Okay, let's go. I haven't seen you in a bit. It's been a while since I did my last live stream with Mike Ventures in Africa there. Okay, so you heard it. Okay, yes. Jada said yes. Mr. Optimistic said yes. So let's go ahead and get going with this. And like I said, I'm going to pause and react to this video because you got to, right? But I got to do it anyway on top of that, just for the fact that some of the areas where I'm speaking, my audio is going to cut out. This was Google Hangouts. So let's get started.
All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Oshay Vlogcast. I am your host, Oshay Duke Jackson.
And one thing I need to know, when he's speaking, do you hear static in the background? Do you hear static in the background when Oshay is speaking? Okay, great. All right, let's get going.
Today, I have no need to have an introduction to this particular channel. A moderator, a good buddy of mine. He's an inspiration to me personally, and me getting my yellow fever card to.
Okay, you heard that. I'm an inspiration to him personally, and I helped him get his yellow fever card. And for those who've never been to Africa, you don't necessarily need a yellow fever card if you're going to go and leave from one particular country. But if you go from one African country to another, you need a yellow fever card. But I'm the one who told him all about this because he didn't know. Well, let's go.
To take a journey over to Africa. I will actually be there in Africa from the 6th to the 15th. I'll be leaving on the 5th. That is none other than Junk Pile Video. And he has a great topic suggested that could be a little controversial depending on what your experience is. But we're talking about how to date an African woman and should you date an African woman. And we're going to listen to his experience today. What up, JPV?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you, brother?
You know, I'm doing pretty well, man. As always, thank you for coming. It's always a pleasure to have you. I guess what I want to know is, you know, you've been here talking about your travels previously. What got you so interested in Africa in the first place?
Definitely, it was the women. You know, it was just the women. Now, it wasn't like seeing photos of them or anything like that. It was just a curiosity of dating. You know, I've already been dating black women all my life, but, you know, when it was time for me to get married, didn't want to marry the American. Nobody's talking about African women at all. So that's what got me curious. So that's what got me to dig. And it took like 3 weeks to find a website to actually find a place where a lot of women hang out and you can experience, you know, interactions with them. Because one thing I didn't do is I didn't look in Spokane where I was living at the time. I didn't check for the local population at all. It didn't even come to mind.
So what I said there is I wasn't looking for the diaspora of Africans living in America because I actually really didn't even thinking about that. So not that I was lazy at looking at that. I was very motivated, but at this particular time I was like, I'm not going to marry anybody in the US. I was going to be single for the rest of my life, but there came to a point in my mid-30s I was like thinking, you know what? Instead of beating myself up, I actually deserve to have a good woman. So let's see what I can find outside the US, right? And I already knew all the stories, and you know, I knew a lot of people marrying out of the Philippines. My uncle was in the Navy. He had a lot of friends marrying Filipino women. They would come here and they use the guys by divorce and all that other stuff just to get that citizenship, just to get that green card, whatever. So I was aware of all that and I was prepared for all that. But let's go.
But, you know, I don't regret that. So, but anyway, I found what I needed.
Not a passport, bro. I'm not a passport bro. See, passport bros don't look for wives. Passport bros are sex tourists. There's a difference.
For it.
Let's talk about the local population of which you lived, and you were living in Tacoma, right? Like in Seattle, close to that area?
Spokane, Washington, on the border of Idaho.
Spokane. Okay, so that is pretty far from Seattle. Now, I've heard that there are a lot of like East Africans, Ethiopians in that area. What?
Yeah, we're still together. 20 plus years now.
What Africans were there in Washington that you came across or knew about?
Well, starting in Spokane, the majority there were a lot of refugees from like Burundi, Rwanda, South Sudan, and there was a very small Kenyan community. There was a lot of Kenyans not too far away in Pullman, Washington, where the state university is. So when they graduated from there, if they didn't move over to Seattle, if they're going to stay in Washington, some of them moved to Spokane. So gradually, the Spokane Kenyan population has been growing as far back as I know as 2006. It was around 100. Right now, there's a few hundred Kenyans there. And most of the Kenyans that live in the state of Washington is Federal Way, which is about, I don't know, of Seattle.
What I said there was about 30 minutes south of Seattle.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in Federal Way, Washington. Now, what got you to, how did you find this particular site?
Okay, so here's the hard part. You know, you put in the typical keywords on Google search, Yahoo search that you think you're going to find the site that you need. African women, it was always African American, African American, African American. So I had to really dig for some different types of keywords. And I actually had to go to like some of these expat websites to finally find a website called afrointroductions with an S.com, which is an Australian site. And almost everybody there is African that are looking to date, whether it's somebody in Africa or somebody in the diaspora.
Now, I want everybody to like also pay attention to Oshay himself, because once this goes up, it's done processing, whatever, you watch the replay. If you're going to watch it a couple times, watch his reactions, especially much later on in this video. Watch his reactions on some of the answers that I give him. Of course, I didn't notice it the first couple times, but I've watched this video at least 50 times over the years. And I keep noticing little things of that. He didn't like the answers that I gave him, but at that time, he was still trying to get that information. Let's go.
Okay. Now, with your experience, once you started to, kind of get your feet wet with this particular site, how long did it take you to meet somebody? And everybody's coming in. I see it now. What's up, Swede Speaks? How long did it take you to actually get in contact with some people that you figure you would basically want to talk to?
Well, basically, it takes a little while to set up your profile. They have about 10 steps that you have to go through. I mean, you really can't go through with your profile without a photo anymore, because I kind of checked it out today to see what's changed. But, you got to set up basically what you're looking for, up your photo, your location, things of that nature. And you can look at all the profiles that you want to, but you can't really speak to the women unless you get a gold account. I don't know if they still call it a gold account, but you're going to pay a little bit of money. So that way you get unlimited access to these women for a gold account.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I don't think I said it on the on this retake here because I had to restart my live stream. But what I did say when you couldn't hear me is that I came on here for this because I agreed, is to help out that one guy that deserves a good woman, because there's very few guys in America that are good for marriage. That one guy, I already knew that the majority of his audience are a bunch of slobs and everything like that. Just like anybody else's audience when it comes to this particular type of subject, because I was that one guy out there looking and nobody helped me. So I was out there looking for that one, not looking, but wanting to help that one guy who would take my information, take it seriously. The rest I already knew, like I said, they're slobs. And I already knew there was a few sex tourists out there, but later did I realize that he was one himself, allegedly, but it's true because he admits it. He's a trick. What I didn't know is that the people in his phone book are a lot of sex tourists. A lot of them. A lot of his audience are wannabe sex tourists, as well as some of them were sex tourists, and that I didn't know until later. So I found out a lot of stuff about not just him, but a lot of the people in his audience. Let's go.
So it's kind of like Tinder Plus, where you decide you want to purchase Tinder Plus and you get access to all these. Fair enough. Okay, so you started, chatting with women online. What was your experience talking to these women online versus maybe the experience you had with talking to women online or in person in the States?
Well, basically, I got the sense of that they're more caring in general for men. Like they actually pay attention to what you're saying. And it's not one of those situations, well, just because he's American, or he's from the UK, I'm going to go ahead and pay attention to him. No, basically what it is, there's a lot more women in Africa than there are men. And it's like that in a lot of countries. So these women are very cultural and they want to be married. So when they go to a site like this, they really don't want their time wasted. And there's a lot of time wasters that go there and just.
You notice that when I said they don't want their time wasted, that was like the first cue that told me that he didn't like that answer, or he didn't like that remark that I made. Because the thing about men who trick, what are they doing? They're paying to play. They pay for play. That's what they're doing. So they could care less if they're wasting that woman's time or not. When it comes to a real relationship, men who don't want to have a real relationship, what do? If they play around with women, they waste women's time, stuff like that. Women do the same thing, but we're talking about men mainly here. So you could tell in his reaction that he didn't like what I said. Let me see if I can play it back a little bit.
From the UK, I'm going to go ahead and pay attention to them. No, basically what it is, there's a lot more women in Africa than there are men. And it's like that in a lot of countries. So these women are very cultural and they want to be married. So when they go to a site like this, they really don't want their time wasted.
You could definitely see it in his face. I didn't notice it first few times, but like I said, the more and more I watch this, the easier it was to figure out that this guy was using me for the information.
And there's a lot of time wasters that go there and just mess with the ladies and, tell them, oh yeah, I'll be there, in 3 months and never show up and all that type of stuff.
Now, the reason why I brought that up, the time wasting thing, because even before I first went to Kenya to meet my wife has I think it's 10 uncles, right? So anyway, one of her uncles ended up being my favorite uncle, by the way. He passed away a few years ago of malaria, may he rest in peace. But he told my wife before I even came that he's not going to show up. And the reason why he said that is because he knows from people he knew personally a lot throughout the years, as well as other people, is that the stories are very, very common in Africa. Men will say that they're gonna be there, they're gonna go and meet with the family and everything, and propose marriage and all this other stuff, right? Or at least go there to meet them, and they never ever show up. They never ever show up. Even the ones that have money, but of course most of them are broke, and that's why they don't show up, and they never had any intention. These are time wasters. But that's the reason why I brought this up to him, because I wanted his audience to listen to what I was saying, so that way they're not going to be going to Afro Introductions or any other place and try to do this thing. But let's go.
So basically, they want to find a husband that's going to be serious. Great conversations with these people. You don't have to talk about sex right off and all that stuff, because they'll bring that conversation up themselves.
Interesting. Let me do this. And once again, I want to give a shout out. Big Willie, thank you for the $5 donation. Appreciate you, Big Willie. I'm enjoying the video. Appreciate you. My man, wake the hell up. Great content, Doc. Ask Jay Junk Pal, what was his favorite place full of joy? What was his favorite place, I guess, in Africa, and enjoy your first trip in the Libby, Doc. Thank you so much. Wake the hell up. Okay, so you were talking to this, and we'll ask his question right after this. So you get this impression that the women are more interested. They have a little bit more culture value. Now, let me try to stump you real quick. I know you're a very bright guy. I probably can't do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to try anyway, right? I have to. Because we're going to have some naysayers out there like, hey, you sound like a pretty bright American. You're savvy. So, of course, she's going to look at you as an opportunity. She's going to be more catering to you. You've probably told her, whatever your job skill is, what you do for a living. Of course, she's going to be submissive. She's in a third world country. She's looking to get over here.
Okay, so maybe that rolled over when he was talking about it, but I listened to it many times. This is where I should have interjected about the third world country being submissive comment, because what he should have said is that women in different countries are more submissive than westernized American women, which is true, but he made it sound as if women are basically objects or a pushover to men, and that's something that's absolutely not true. But you can kind of see where his mind is already, even though he's trying to be respectful to me. I thought some of his questions were a little odd, but this is also somebody that I guess that I gave Oshay a chance because he stopped talking bad about Africans, right? So to me at the time, I was like, okay, if he's being genuine, let's go ahead and at least try, right? So this is what my mind thought process was at that particular time.
What would your response be to somebody who has that mindset?
I'd say shut the fuck up, get a passport, and go over. Find out for yourself. Plain and simple. And if you want to get a little more experience before you actually buy a plane ticket, do it online. Get some experience with the females that you're interested in, or what these other guys are talking about. You know, what's the big deal? What's the hype? You need to find that out. You can do that at afrointroductions.com. Just pay a little bit of money. It's cheaper than a plane ticket. Otherwise, shut the fuck up.
Okay. And once again, thank you, Big Willie. The interviews are very informative. Okay, appreciate you, bro. Let's kind of go to some situations, because I know you actually, and shout out to my man Rick Thompson and Moita C. Thank you guys for supporting. Okay, so you're talking to a few young ladies on this particular website. Now, I know eventually at the end of the road, you get married to an extremely attractive Kenyan woman. But let's kind of go through some of the roles that it took you to get there. Let's talk about a few relationships with people that you met online.
Okay.
Let's kind of go from the first chick you met, where she was from, and why it didn't work out with those ladies. That way, the reason we want to do this is because we want to give adding the fuel to the fire for the other guests. And once again, Gilla, I know what that's for, man. Appreciate you, Gilla, for the super chat of $25, man. I appreciate you, bro. But so let's do that if we can, JPV.
Sure. I'll start off with the women that I spoke to as far as the countries, because I had to make sure they're English speaking, was Liberia, Ghana, Nigeria, Zambia, Kenya, Ethiopia, and even Senegal. Even though it's a French speaking country, there's quite a few Senegalese that actually speak English. But the first one was actually out of Nigeria, out of Lagos, and she was a Yoruba.
Okay.
She already had a daughter that I did not know about. I had a very good talking, kind of working relationship with her mother that was in the UK, in London, working for some years. Her father was a kind of like a district attorney there in Lagos, so practicing lawyer. And I had a really great conversation with her, and her, among some other women. I let them all know that I'm speaking to more than one person. But this particular person, I thought, besides between her and my wife, one of them had to be the one. But because she didn't tell me she had a daughter right off, everything else I found out was true about her. She didn't tell me she had a daughter right off because a lot of African women will feel that if they tell you if they have a child, that you're not going to be interested in them. And it is a habit with a lot of African men that, you know, they're not going to marry a woman that already has a child. She kind of thought that I was going to go in that same category, so she never gave me the chance. So basically, her mother said, if you don't tell him, and this is a Nigerian, because Nigerians get a bad rap all the time, if you don't tell him that you have a daughter, I'm going to tell him. So this is the kind of relationship that I had with her mother. She was very interested in me marrying her daughter because her daughter was.
By the way, I made a mistake saying that this particular Nigerian, her mother was Nigerian. No, her father was Nigerian, but her mother was from Ghana. So just that clarification.
Always talking about me, things of that nature. But you know, we're talking, and she was in the back of the last line of the cyber cafe where she was sitting. I saw a couple of kids, you know, running around, and I'm like, you know, just kind of making comments. Oh, you got a lot of kids there that day. And she goes, yeah. So her daughter was playing with some other kid in the cafe, and she said, well, that one girl you see, that's my daughter. And she had this face on her that was like so disappointed, like it was down, her hands were on top of her head, like, this is it, I'm going to lose them. You could see it in her face. Yeah, I got mad because she didn't tell me. You know, she wasn't brave enough to tell me. And her mother even got mad at me because I eventually, you know, just to make it short, I didn't go with her because of that one fact. Sometimes I kick myself, but, you know, I don't regret the wife that I have now. I don't regret my decision.
So let's kind of talk about the second chick. So they basically knew, or the woman knew, you was talking to the Yoruba chick from Nigeria. And shout out to Blackest Night, he's also Yoruba. Shout out to all my Yoruba fam out there. You guys know I love you. And then so you knew it was between.
Okay, so Oshay's lying there. He doesn't love Yorubas. He doesn't love Nigerians. He hates Nigerians. He hates Africans, no matter what he tells you. This guy, okay, so I caught him bad mouthing Africans when I first discovered him, right? Then he backed down. Come to find out, the only real reason why he backed down is because he needed to make friends with me in order to kind of get into my good graces so he can get this information out of me, right? So it didn't take more than like, I'll say 12 to 18 months later, after he's already been to Uganda, I think twice, he started bad mouthing Africans again. And then it just got worse and worse year after year after that. So he doesn't love Nigerians, Yorubas, nobody. I don't even think he loves himself.
The Lagos woman, or the Yoruba woman, and the Kenyan woman. They both knew that, right?
Well, no, they did not. I did. And I was speaking to some other women in between that, because I let every single woman that I was speaking to, I'm going to be speaking to about 5 or 6 different women. So therefore, I had to be the one that was asking them questions indirectly to get the answers that I needed to find out where they are in the head, where they are in the heart. Basically, are they after me for a visa? Are they after me for a true relationship? Do they want to come to America? Do they not want to come to America? And you'd be surprised, a lot of them would just say, forget America, just move here. And when you get that type of response, America, it's either we'll go there or we won't. If you get that kind of response, they're not after you for a visa.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so I had some really good conversations with other women from Zambia and all these other places. But as far as the connection, it was with these two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, so I kind of want to work a little bit backwards here, because I know that we have the final two and then the end story. Let's talk about some of the other connections that you made in Zambia, that you made in other parts. And once again, shout out Geo Scholar. I want to do a couple shout outs. Yardley Moist, go fuck LeBron. I hope they win. I hope Golden State win. Big Willie, thank you again. Let's talk about the Zambia, and if you want to talk about it, the other experiences that you had, why those chicks, you didn't have the connection there. What did they do wrong, in your opinion?
They didn't do anything wrong, actually. It just got to the point where I'm talking to, a half a dozen women, and if I didn't feel a connection right away, then, I would let them off kind of softly. And also at the same time, I let every single woman know, even my wife, that if you found somebody else while we're talking and you don't want to wait, just go ahead, because I wanted to be very fair. Waste any woman's time for the simple fact I don't want no woman wasting my time. Right. So you got to understand. I know we talk about American women, African American women, how dysfunctional the American woman is, American women have feelings, but they're really fucked up feelings for the most part. Well, you also have to think about if you're going to the areas where women.
And let me clarify what I just said there. What I meant is that they're messed up for the most part is when it comes to a relationship with a man, American women are really not compatible for marriage. They're not qualified. None of them were qualified for me. So the qualifications, I had very high standards, and Africa was actually the only place that I could find where the women had just as high standards as I did for marriage. And so that's why I say that. And it's true. And that's the way it is for most American men too. They don't have high standards, to be qualified to marry an African woman. And that's just a fact, do a lot of marriages work? Yeah, but there's very few marriages to begin with between Americans and Africans on the African continent, whether if they're already over here or if they went over there to marry somebody. But then there's still quite a few, even out of the small percentage, that get divorced because it's usually the American who's not compatible with the African, not that the African is not compatible with the American. That might confuse you a little bit, but if you really think about it, who's bringing a lot of heat, who's bringing a lot of problems more times than not? It's usually the American, because the American usually is the one complaining about things that they shouldn't even be complaining about. But that's a story for another day for a different type of topic. But let's go.
Are genuine, they have great moral values, they still have feelings. So my opinion, well, not my opinion, I'm just going to call it a fact. If you're going to go around fucking with some woman and saying you're going to be there within a year and you don't show up, You make all these promises to her. You never even deserve to even meet her online. So if you're gonna go and do this, I'm gonna give you some information to all you guys on how to meet these women before you buy a plane ticket. Don't waste their time, because if you're one of those dudes, you don't deserve a woman like that.
Okay, so I forgot what I said when the audio cut out, but still, it's like I wanted to reiterate that thing once again, at least 2 or 3 times to Oshay, because it was for his audience, that don't be wasting somebody's time. This is another human being on the other side of that computer screen or that phone receiver. It's another human life that you're dealing with. And when women are out at a place, something like like Afro Introductions, they're there for a very specific reason. My wife was there for a very specific reason. She was looking for somebody to get married, and that's simple, whether if it was somebody from Africa or somebody who's not from Africa. So that's why I had to reiterate it a couple times to try to push that point across, because that was like the number one thing that some of the women I was speaking to that were telling me, that a lot of men just play with them. And that's it. They just play with them. So some of the women that we're speaking to said they've been on there for 2 or 3 years and haven't found anybody. That's how much they're getting played with conversation. Well, let's go. So.
Mm-hmm. I kind of agree. We don't want to waste people's time because we don't want to have our times wasted. Let's talk about the end part. So you've decided that the Yoruba woman is not going to be the one. She loses out. Sad for her. You decide that the woman in Kenya is who you're going to be going to take serious here. Let's talk about the process, how that was, if you don't mind sharing that.
Okay, well, real quick, I just want to address Black Lion 777. I know you're a comedian, but I have no jungle fever, brother. I ain't got no damn jungle fever. Never had it, never will. That's Spike Lee's little joint.
Oh, man.
Okay. Could you say that one more time, man? Because I was reading it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's an asshole, by the way. So I'm talking about the fact that so you decided that the woman from Kenya is who you're going to take more serious. What's the process like of you meeting her? How long did it take you to do that? What were the steps? Kind of take us through that process as you were going through it.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So basically, when I said, basically you're the one, and that was probably I would say February of 2006. Then I had to make the arrangements. So I was also in the process of selling my house in Spokane. So this is basically to fund the trip, the dowry that I was going to pay to the family and things of that nature. I wanted to make sure as well, well in advance. So we made it that I was going to be there in July. And we wanted a church wedding, but that was going to be impossible in that short of time because church weddings are booked up for at least 12 months in advance. And that was pretty much everywhere. So we decided on a courthouse wedding, but we're going to do everything else traditional. When she got everything kind of set up on that side, I went and bought my ticket, I believe in April for July. So I got my ticket at least 60 days in advance. I had no idea that I was going to pay full rate because I was going to leave in the summertime. And I was even lucky to even find an opening in the summertime. That was another thing I didn't know. Usually, if you don't book way ahead of time, you're not getting a flight to Africa through most airlines. So in the process of getting there, we had to go to, I guess it's, or maybe a governmental building where we had the courthouse wedding. I had to sign some paperwork. Had to be sent off to Nairobi to do whatever they had to do there. Then the paperwork would be driven back to Nanyuki. And I was freaking out because it was like 7 days in advance. And I was thinking, man, what happens if there's a car wreck? The paperwork's in the ditch.
Yeah, when that was going on, man, I was tripping out because I was thinking, because we were going to have a courthouse wedding. They had all the paperwork there that all we had to do was do everything right there. Right. I didn't realize that Kenya was not ready. I guess they can only like approve our wedding, our marriage through the Republic, through some office over there in Nairobi. So at that time, the way the roads were is like a 3.5 hour drive from Nairobi to Nanyuki and 3.5 hours back, right? On average. So that's with good traffic, right? So my whole idea was, well, it's going to be 7 days. It's going to take almost 7 days just to get the paperwork. And the worst thing I could think in my mind is the person carrying our paperwork. What happens if they get into a car wreck and then the papers go flying everywhere in some field, and then we got to wait, and then maybe they won't be in time, and I have to go back to the U.S. and our marriage has to be canceled because the paperwork didn't come back. So yeah, I was freaking out about that, and I was thinking, I was like, why can't they just do that right here, right? But it was a learning process.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, everything was fine. When I also got there a day after arriving there, I was fitted at a tailor there in Nairobi before we went to Nanyuki, and her brother took care of that. And the tailor, I didn't let him know because I'm a little bit overweight. He actually measured my stomach instead of my waist, so my pants were a little bit bigger than they needed to be. But the daishiki he made for me, I mean, everything was cool. I paid. I'm not going to say the exact amount of the dowry, but we had a meeting and everything with her uncle because her parents had passed away. It was going to go to her 3 brothers, and the uncle basically, took control of the conversation of.
So basically, when I'm talking about these types of things right here, he wasn't too interested. So like I said, I've watched this probably nearly 50 times over the past 10 years almost. So there's a lot of parts about this interview that just wasn't interesting because it wasn't really talking about how to get with women. So that's another thing. If you really pick up on Oshay on how he really is, and these later reactions that I'm going to show you guys over the next coming weeks, because I will go live again next week, Sunday, with another Oshay reaction on a different video. And it's all a big process of why he came to Africa. But just pay attention to that as well. When I'm talking about little things like this that are actually important, he's not too interested.
The dowry and how it works. Explain to me, the traditional way and the way they do it now. And because I'm a foreigner, I wasn't going to have any connections there in Kenya on getting cattle or anything like that. So it's just.
Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
So did you hear everything I said?
I heard can you say the last part again? I heard about the dowry, but then I kind of broke up a little bit.
Oh, I was going to say the dowry is what the future husband is going to pay to the family to receive a wife from the family. Whether most of the time it's the parents, but if the parents are not there, then it's going to go to most likely the siblings.
Okay, and another part of this, which I don't think it caught on for what I remember, is that part of the traditional way of the dowry process through the Meru, because my wife is Meru, is that a Meru man would go and find some honey and make a particular type of wine from that honey, and that would be like the gift to the parents. And it's not like I can just know where to get this honey, right? And then maybe trespass into somebody's property and probably get shot or something because I'm trespassing looking for honeys for a dowry, right? So basically it's just more modern times, and the uncle let me know that nowadays it's mostly money. We still do cattle and goats and stuff like that. So that's basically some of the stuff that I was trying to say when my audio was cutting out.
And that's pretty much it on that part.
Okay, let me do this. Shout out to King Demetrius, Big Willie. Thank you, man. Big Willie spending money all in this thing tonight. Let me kind of go back over some things. Because, I know in America, when we decide to marry a woman, there's not necessarily a dowry. Or I know that's how African customs do it. Like you must pay a certain type of thing. I know you don't want to talk about the actual price, but what type of things did the family want you to bring in exchange for the daughter's hand in marriage?
Well, just be the person that I said I was to her. So they never asked me once, or did they dig into my business about who I was as a person? They left that up to her. So, we met, it's our business. And after you're married, married couples do not talk about their business even with their parents. And my wife is very traditional about that. I mean, I've said a couple things, that I thought were like harmless, like her older brother's sons needed some shoes. The conversation is between the women, it's not between the men. With another man that was taking care of those kids, and I got kind of in trouble for it through her. So it's just something that we don't talk about. So if the man is going to pay for it, the wife is going to go to the husband, get the money, and then pay for something like that. So even though that doesn't sound like a big deal, family business.
Oh, okay, so let me ask you this. So when did you get married to her the first time you saw her?
Yes, I got married 7 days after I got there, but it was planned way ahead of time on the 14th of July, 2006.
Wow. Okay. And Captain Jack. Okay. Now I'm gonna thank you, Captain Jack, for that super chat. $5. Where in East Africa does the U.S. dollar go the farthest? I think he's saying that. I'm pretty sure Tanzania or Uganda is probably where it does, but I'll let JPV answer that. But we'll come back to you, Captain Jack, in a second. So you got there. You're meeting this lady for the first time. You're going to get married. What does she look anything like the pictures? Did you Skype her before? Did you guys do all of that? I mean,
well, yeah, and part of what I'm going to give information to the men out there is that you don't want to do these types of things without making sure that it is a woman, because you do have, for example, some Nigerian men, they're going to act like they're Whitney Houston and say Whitney Houston doesn't exist, but that's going to be his profile picture saying, I'm her.
And that actually happened to me. So I saw a couple, on the website, I saw a couple profiles, and the one with Whitney Houston, I wanted to see who the Joker was using Whitney Houston, because I saw a few like using, they'll use one or two things, porn actresses, faces, because I guess they think nobody will recognize, and then they'll actually go and use a famous actress or singer like Whitney Houston. And so I went ahead and just entertained the idea to find out who this person was, and it just happened to be some dude trying to say he's Whitney Houston to try to scam some money out of a 419. That's what it was. So that's why I brought it up.
And try to get some money out of you. So a lot of cyber cafes do have webcams throughout Africa, but then a lot of them do not. So feel sorry for the ones that, if you're going to be that strict, don't have a webcam, you might as well just let them go. Okay. But if you really want to see the person, you want them to have a cyber cafe near them that has webcams, because most of these people don't have their own computers. They don't have their own internet where they can do that for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah, she looked everything like her photos. I didn't doubt her one bit when it came to that, but still, you want to go ahead and do that, because of some places, I've ran into situations where there's people just spinning your wheels over and over and over again. Camera 1 week, and when you get there, there's no camera. Mm-hmm. At this particular cyber cafe. Or the internet went down today, but you're talking to them on the internet.
Yeah, I literally had people say that. So this let me know that. Of course, I did know that some places didn't have cameras. So, but you find out that some of these people are not actually women. So they'll say that there's no cameras when most likely there probably is, right? So this is where you got to be careful as men or women. You never know if there's going to be somebody scamming. So that's why I was trying to let people know, is like, hey, you got to play it smart. If it is a real woman and they don't have any cams where they can cam up, you might as well be. It's better to be safe than sorry. So there's plenty of fish in the sea, as they say. So it's not like you're not going to find somebody, but that is one way to protect yourself. And I don't think that was very unreasonable, even with the circumstances with some people's situations, not having any cams. But again, there's a lot of people that were scamming, claiming that there's no cams there in the cyber cafes.
Same day, you know what I mean? I mean, that's how stupid they are. Some of them get, the scammers anyway. So yeah, you definitely want to make sure that at least at one point you're speaking to them on a webcam.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Let me ask you this, and once again, shout out to my man King Demetrius. I think he's already answered the question, but this brother, Captain Jack, says, where in East Africa does the U.S. dollar go the furthest or go far?
Okay, well, I got the exchange rate up right now. So as of today, the Kenyan shilling is 103.40 shillings to the dollar. So you can basically say that's $1.03 against the dollar. So let's check Uganda. Okay, the Ugandan dollar, or excuse me, the Ugandan shilling is 3,604, which is basically $36 to the US dollar.
Okay, so Nana, I've told you many months ago, like, I was the one that gave him the price exchange rate at this time. So it was it was actually, I was saying over the phone that I'll look it up for him, but I was actually looking it up for him in this particular interview. So this is one of the main reasons why he chose Uganda, is because of that exchange rate right there. So if anybody ever wondered why he chose Uganda out of the three, that's the reason why.
And then we'll also check Tanzania.
Okay, Tanzania, I think is 22.36.
Exactly. So about $22.
Yeah. So I think actually Uganda is probably going to be your best budget
Yeah, for your budget, O'Shea, right? Yep.
for that. So also for you brothers, man, I was talking to Junk Pal before I got on. Gave me some great advice. Actually,
see, so he just admitted right there. It was we were talking together. Okay, Verve, thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. So we're talking together over the phone, and we talked more than once, preparing for this. But also, again, he was getting some of the information. He was getting most of the information on the phone from me. It wasn't through these videos. So I've been on his channel at least 3 times, as far as being on his panel, and he got some information from me there. But most of the information was over the phone.
Jump Out and Search for Uhuru is one of the big pushes. Actually, it's after I did my last interview with Search for Uhuru. I was kind of on the fence. I just said, fuck it, I'm going. Right? I bought the ticket. So I'm going to actually vlog my experience. I'm going to vlog me at the Forex. I'm going to vlog the exchange like I did in Budapest for those of you. So we'll be able to see everything. Damn, Big Willie going crazy. Oregon passed the plate. You're having a good time. So yeah, Uganda. So I'm gonna. So for example, and I want to get back to Junk Call right now. I'm gonna just share my experience so far. Okay. I have here. This is my letter of intent. All right. So as you can see, ain't gonna show my whole stuff on there, but this is my Ugandan authority.
Okay, so this is his temporary 30-day tourist visa, as you can see on the paper, right? And if you look down there in red, it says work prohibited. So for all those fools out there that want to scam and make money on your tourist visa to Uganda, it says, and this is back in 2017, work prohibited. Work prohibited. If you want to work there, you're going to have to get a work permit and a work visa. All right.
A letter, okay, of this is my visa letter. So once I get there, I take this to them. I give them $50 for the visa. To fly from Warsaw to Entebbe, which is outside of Kampala, round trip was $900. I'm staying in a place called Kuatale, which is outside of Nintendo area, suburb of Kampala, for about $25 a night in Airbnb. So it's $228. I'm taking about few $100 cash, right? US dollars. I'm exchange. I got my burner phone, my Android Huawei. I'm not gonna take my iPhone. I'll leave that here. I'll be going with MTN or Vodafone there. And once again, all of that I'm gonna vlog for you. So once you guys, like come back, all that will be on the channel. And the electric outlets, which JPV is going to talk about, the voltages, what you should bring, all that stuff, yellow fever cards. We're going to talk to you about that. Let me get back to JPV. So you see her. How was the, I know when you're talking to somebody online, it could be a lot different, right?
Exactly.
But when you meet them, though, it could be, it could be a little different. How was the chemistry in person when you met her?
I'm going to say it's exactly the same, except for the simple fact that because she was physically there and she ran up and hugged me, and it was in front of everybody, of course. It wasn't a sense of fear, but it was like a sense of why is everybody staring at me? This is going to be my future wife. You know what I mean? It just felt good. It felt like the love was already there because you already been talking to her for like 8 months before you even got there. You already knew what to expect, but when you're there, it's I don't know. It's like 3D.
So, I'll just be honest. So it's like, I never really had to explain to anybody like my experience of going into Africa and these type of questions with these types of feelings and stuff like that. So I was very inexperienced at the time on how to explain it. So using words like it was kind of like 3D compared to 2D. I was really trying to think on how to explain myself on what it felt like on, being there at the first time, landing in Africa, breathing in the air and all that different type of stuff. So that's why it sounds kind of corny, but it is what it is, right?
Is this bunch of feelings you really can't describe?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're there. Is your family there? Because you're going to get married. What does your family think about this? You're going to marry somebody on the internet. You're going to Kenya.
The only person that I told that I was going to Kenya was my boss, so I can get the time off to leave. Because I was going there for me. I was going there for her. My family, I was never close to my family on my mother and my father's side. Both my mother and father passed away in the last couple of years. Okay. But yeah, they were not close to me for certain reasons, and I didn't care because I was going there for her and, for myself, period. And I knew I was going to eventually move there anyway. People have done it since the beginning of time. They break away from their mother and father. They go to a distant land, marry somebody, and then never see their parents again. There's nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean you don't love your parents any less. But, things like that happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, shout out to my man, Wake the Hell Up. He said Warriors in 5. I hope so. I hate the Cavs. Let's talk about, okay, so you had I'm assuming, a pretty good career in the West Coast. Economic stability. You're gonna go to Kenya, right? How is JPV surviving in Nairobi?
Prior to the trip,
you notice how he called Nairobi. One thing, even till today, till this very day, it's like Oshay doesn't put any effort whatsoever to try to pronounce the easiest of African names, whether if it's cities, people's names, towns or anything like that. He doesn't give an effort. He's been there since 2019, basically, and he moved there actually permanently because of the war between Russia and Ukraine. He didn't want to be close to that. That's why he moved away from Poland. So all this time that he's been there, he makes no concerted effort to try to pronounce certain names that are pretty easy to pronounce, like Nairobi. I used to say Nairobi correctly when I heard episode of Star Trek talk about the University of Nairobi. So in the Federation. So this laziness that comes from this guy is just incredible, absolutely incredible. And I can't wait to do the other reactions because it just gets worse and worse and worse after this.
Well, yes. So you're getting ready to. Now you did live in Kenya for some time, right?
Yeah, I still live there. I just haven't been there for a while. Surviving in Spokane, and before that, I was in computer and consumer electronics sales for a long time, kind of like Dynast. I don't know what type of sales, but I've been in sales for a long time with electronics.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were in Kenya, and what's the longest time that you actually stayed there? Without coming back to the United States?
Because I don't have citizenship all the way processed, because you got to stay there for a while, 3 months.
3 months. Okay, so you're there for 3 months.
Mhm.
How is JPB supporting himself? The legendary junk pile video. How is he doing this? How is he supporting himself there?
The money I brought with me. My wife also sells clothing. She doesn't sell the used clothing that you usually see on TV. And I've also one time I've brought some books just to see how they'd sell, and they sold pretty good.
Okay.
So, but that was my.
And at that time when I sold those books, those are already people that were that my wife knew that were going to buy those books from me. However, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do that, so I'll never do that again. But it was like about a half a dozen books, all tech books, by the way.
Spending, or basically the money that I brought with me was from the US, pretty much 100%.
Okay, so you saved up some money, kind of like what I'm getting ready to do right now, going over there, taking some money from what I make and say, fuck it. Okay, cool. So let me ask you this. So looking at Nairobi, were you actually living in Nairobi, or were you living in her hometown?
Well, the first couple times it was in her hometown. She didn't move to Nairobi till about 2-3 years after we were married. She was actually kind of like, convincing me for a long time to move there, because I didn't want her to move there. So eventually, she's just talk about the job market. So I'm not trying to keep my wife in her hometown and kind of leave her secluded while I'm not there. So I just let her go ahead and move us to Nairobi, and we've just been living there ever since.
Okay. So been living there ever since. All right. So let me ask you this. Been living there ever since. So what is Nairobi like as a city compared to
Nairobi,
Spokane, Seattle, Portland? You're there now. If you can contrast what Nairobi is like to your modern West Coast cities you're familiar with. I know you live in California at some point, live in Sacramento for some point. What's the difference between what makes Nairobi stand out against all of these cities?
It's a energy. I have to say, the energy that gets people to say hello to you in the morning, to smile, treat each other with respect. I mean, genuine respect with one another. Everybody's shaking hands. I mean, let's say, for example, you walk up with a friend that knows 10 people that you're walking up to. You're the friend. You're going to shake everybody's hand, even if you're not going to do the talking. There's a lot of clubs there. There's more nightclubs there than I think New York had ever had in its history. I mean, everybody has a nightclub popping up everywhere if you're into that type of thing. Kids are happy. Even people living in poverty, kids are happy. They don't seem like they're all stressed out like they are over here. The adults are happy. The biggest struggle over there is to make sure that you make enough money for the day for most people so that you can eat that night. Other than that, there's a lot of energy there that you don't see on the West Coast. Hospitality is a huge one.
I meant to say in the U.S., not the West Coast. Clarification.
Me and Dinas have brought this up a few times. If you're really, like to be treated very well, and you don't have to think about, how you're going to be treated, oh, man, I don't feel like going here. This is Denny's, they're going to treat me like shit. Half the time it's good. Half the other experiences are bad. No, you're going to be treated very well. And if they make a mistake, they're going to actually fix that mistake. You don't have to yell at them or anything like that. It's a different energy, man. It's undescribable to me.
Okay, so it's interesting. I said that about like a waiter or waitress at a Kenyan restaurant makes a mistake, and you don't have to yell at them or anything like that. Now, this is the thing. I've seen expats, or I would say tourists, say some things when somebody make a mistake in Kenya and be very rude about it, right? And Oshay has said this with this time in Uganda, that because somebody made a mistake, he disrespects them, but he thinks he's okay in doing so. And therefore, he thinks he has the right to abuse that person verbally while he's there because he's paying. And that's just not the case. That's that entitlement that he's bringing from I wouldn't say necessarily Del Paso Heights, but from the United States. And he feels that he should spread that entitlement anywhere that he goes. All he had to do was the mistake be known, and then go ahead and give them the opportunity to actually fix it. But the way he reacts is that he just goes off, like a lot of people do. Not everybody all the time, but that's what he does. And that's what he's explained on more than one occasion, that he's gone off on people. I even seen one time where he went like maybe for a week to Nairobi, and this is a few years ago, and they were at a restaurant. It was like an outdoor restaurant. And he was asking about what would it cost to reserve these tables. And he didn't get an answer right away, but the way I can tell is that they didn't quite understand. These were just a couple waiters. I don't even think they knew the answer to that question. That this is something for like maybe upper management. And you could see that he's getting very impatient on his own camera right in front of them. So the disrespect that we see from Oshay many a times talking about people in Uganda specifically, because that's where he spends most of his time. And he's done this in South Africa and Kenya as well, and that incident was in Kenya. This is how he behaves. And this is one of many reasons why we want him out of Africa, because he doesn't deserve to be there under any circumstances.
Let's talk about some of the city infrastructure, and we'll get into the dating of the women pretty soon. But what I mean, you're getting out of you're in Nairobi. You want to what do the streets look like? What's the electricity situation like? What's the internet speed like? I mean, let's talk about those things living in Africa as opposed to living in the United States.
Okay, well, let's start with the roads. A lot of the main roads, ever since Kibaki towards the end of his term, have been fixed. Thika Road, which is now called Thika Superhighway, which is a 4-lane freeway from Nairobi to Thika, which also goes up to my wife's town in Nanyuki, used to take 3.5 hours. Now it only takes about 2.5 hours since it's been fixed. So that's a big improvement. Wow. It took us, I think, 8 or 9 hours to get from Nairobi to Mombasa at night on a bus, and the roads were messed up. It's going through Savo Park. So it only takes like about 5 hours now instead of 8 or 9 hours to drive there. And that was fixed probably about 7 years ago, maybe. So a lot of roads are being fixed, but then you'll have a lot of roads like in between apartment buildings, like off the main road, that are dirt roads. So when it rains, there's a lot of mud puddles and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of the roads. The main roads are good. The not so main roads are kind of bad. So let's put it that way. As far as electricity is concerned, and people bringing their own electronics, I'll add that with this. Any electronics that you bring, at least cameras, laptops, anything of that nature, should already be ranged for 110 to 220 voltage or 240 voltage. Mm-hmm. So you can look that up on the bottom of your computers, your cameras, and things of that. If you're going to be bringing blow dryers, make sure it's 220. Shavers, clippers and stuff like that, make sure it's 220, because if you buy that over there, you're going to spend a little more money. As far as electricity in Nairobi, it's up most of the time. So, we're talking before we started the show that, you can go a whole 2 weeks in Nairobi and there's not a single power outage. And then all of a sudden you'll have 4 in one day. So it's you never know when that's going to happen. And I do recommend bringing a surge protector or buying one when you get there that's rated for that voltage in that country or any other country that you go to. Okay, so besides the roads and electricity, what else did you say? The buildings?
Hold on a second. DJ Batman. Hey, bro, hold on. I'm not asking him nothing. Super chat your question, dude. I've never seen you.
Some of these names of the people that are watching. DJ Batman. I don't know. Some of these names just crack me up, but I forgot what I was just going to say. But I just thought that name was funny. I just had to talk about that.
Donate in here unless you're a Patreon. If you're a Patreon, DJ Batman, give me your email. I'll check the Patreon list, and then I'll ask that question. But if you're not contributing to this fucking chat, I'm not asking him shit.
Okay, so Nana, if you're still watching, this is him. Even back then, this was 2017 when he got monetized. He got monetized in 2017 when it came to the super slaps, the super chats right then, I think that's when they started. He was begging back then. And I wouldn't say that Oshay started it, but he's the first person that I can remember. They used to like, I'm not going to answer your question until you send me a super slap or super chat. So you saying, what are you saying here? Those names are still on his kenganda streams. Yeah. But yeah, he's begging back then, and he's even begging now sometimes when he does the live streams.
So, a lot of y'all niggas come in this motherfucker thinking like, I'm gonna just ask him, nigga, please. Okay.
I'll go ahead and answer his question since it's right here because this is the second time.
No, don't ask him shit. Don't ask him shit. No. Let him do what he's supposed to do.
Okay.
Because if you do that, this motherfucker will still just keep trying to do that shit. So let him give it. Okay, King Demetrius, let's answer his question. He wants to know how would it be for a brother? I think he wants to know how would Kenyan women how do they treat? I know you're like American black men. Have you encountered any American people, black people there in Kenya while you were there?
Absolutely.
Okay. What is there?
Not that many, but the majority that I have, they were calm, collective, and I think that just came kind of naturally. Either they've been there a few times, or it's just because when you get off the airport and the way you're treated, you just automatically just kind of blend in to that type of attitude, But I have no idea because I didn't know any of these guys personally. But I have seen an African American couple there talk shit in Nairobi to some Kenyans about their service. And what it was, they're just not used to hospitality. They didn't do anything wrong. They were just complaining about any and everything, just like some of the white expats do. It was no different than the white expats.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as, because they can tell if you're African American once you speak or the way that you walk, what they're going to wait for is to see how you act. And if you act like a normal individual, as they consider being normal, as like one of them, then they have no problem. And you want to bring it to Africa, I recommend.
So when my audio cut out there, I was saying, like, if you want to bring your dirty laundry and you want to bring it to Africa, just leave it at the airport. I used to say that all the time. And it's true then, it's true now.
And that you don't leave it at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
Come with a clean attitude, come with an open mind, absorb their culture. Don't try to say, well, as soon as I get here, I'm going to show them what's up. It ain't going to work. To your question, you ain't got no problem as long as you.
And it hasn't worked. Oshay can't get his attitude the way he wants to push people around. It doesn't work. It didn't work with Austin. It didn't work with KG. It didn't work with that Romanian guy that comes and promotes sex tourism from Romania, but he's there to make money on YouTube in a most disgusting way behind a paywall on a separate website. So it doesn't work for any of these guys or women that try to come there. There's so many people that have gone there, brought their dirty laundry, their attitudes, and it comes from Europeans as well. It comes from Asians as well. It comes from people from the Middle East. They all do it. And they don't get very far. But when it comes to Americans in particular, they seem to be the worst out of the whole bunch because there's that entitlement. The entitlement set so much higher as that, okay, if you try to charge me more than everybody else, what's a Mzungu price? Mzungu means foreigner. It doesn't mean white person. So when they call you a Mzungu and your skin is not Caucasian colored skin, you are a Mzungu, you are a foreigner. They can tell they're going to charge you more money. It just comes with the territory. They do that everywhere. They do that all over Africa, and they do it in many other different countries as well. So you can't feel like that entitlement's going to get you everywhere and get you exactly what you want. You're not going to get the red carpet treatment. If you want to get that, you're pretty much going to have to pay for that. And that's a fact.
You treat people with respect, they'll treat you with respect. As simple as that.
Okay, cool.
All right. Okay, let's go. Thank you very much. I hope you could come back later and rewatch the latter part because we've still got a ways to go. So I have to get through this whole thing in order to finish it off. But thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Now, this brother wants to know Big Willie. He been killing this super chat today, man. Shout out to him. What he wants to know is, how do Kenyan women? First of all, did you see a lot of attractive Kenyan?
So diasporan, I'm glad you brought this up because I think with your statement is the same statement from a lot of people that are just discovering this as well. It's very it's very legitimate to feel like maybe you're in the middle, because this comment makes me feel like you're in the middle. I'm not sure if you came in like when you first heard of Oshay that, watching a few of his videos that you liked it or didn't like it. But I think right now don't take just anybody's word about Oshay, but let Oshay speak for himself based on his actions. And his actions come out of his mouth, the words that he says out of his mouth. And so this is my experience right here where he's interviewing me and he's getting information out of me on how to maneuver within Africa. But even though this conversation and this title of his video is how to date African women and stuff like that, there's going to be more coming after this that I'm going to basically complete the reason why he came to Africa. This is just the beginning, but I think you're in a good spot. Just listen to this whole thing. And if you're just coming in, when you get time, watch it from the beginning. I appreciate you being in. And also, let's see, been to Kenya several times, love the country and people. I try not to be the stereotypical ugly American. I appreciate that. And that's all really anybody has to do is just be a decent human being, because you can find decent human beings everywhere in the world. Now, I will later on in this live stream, I will say that I hate America, and I'll give that context when that comes. Okay. So for the Americans out there that love America, don't get mad at me. I'll give my reason why I said that, but let's go.
Women when you were there, your parents, because this other brother came on, his name was Nuts. I forgot what his YouTube name.
Nuts. See, first it was DJ Batman, now Nuts. Okay, what's up, Kenyan Dispatch News? Thank you for coming in, KLA. I really appreciate it. I take it you probably got my link or you got the notification. Let's see here. It's all about women all the time. No investment seeking, just fun after fun. Yep, that's true. Diasporan says, I am not fond of America as well. If possible, I won't go back. I currently live outside America. Okay. Let's continue.
When he came on, he had just got to Kenya. He said that he saw like a lot of nice bodies, a lot of fat ass butts and shit like that, but not so many like gorgeous women there, but like a lot of nice bodies.
Well, that's true, but you know what the other thing is about that, and I'm not trying to put words in his mouth or trying to change his mind. I'll agree with that, except that a lot of Americans are not used to the strong features of African women. Used to the strong features of African women, it's absolutely beautiful. And another thing too, most women over there, they don't wear facial makeup. So a lot of guys are ready to see a woman all dressed up in the fakeness of what America is. Used to the real beauty, like a lot of Kikuyu women, especially Kikuyus. And if there's any Kikuyus listening, I know they're raising their hands and clapping right now. But they are gorgeous women, man. In Kenya, they're probably the most gorgeous women out there, but they're not the only ones.
Right. They're probably the most gorgeous, but they're not the only ones. And I know that from all over Kenya. So what I'm about to say next will probably piss somebody off coming up here, but I'll explain that too, because I have a reason for these things that I say based on basically what the person in his chat was saying, right? So it's like, one thing I find, and even Rello said it himself, Jay Rello, is that he goes, oh, these Kenyan women are so mid, they're so mid, they're not all doll. He likes a dolled up face. He likes women with makeup and all that other stuff. It's like he likes the fakeness of what a woman is supposed to look like, right? But he knew damn well when he was in Kenya, he saw the most beautiful women in his entire life, because there's not a more beautiful woman than anywhere else in the world other than in Africa. Sorry to say there's beautiful women everywhere, but Africa's got the best. But let's go.
You just have to get used to a different look. Yeah, I know there's a lot of ugly Nigerian women, and I'm not afraid to say that. But man, there's a lot of beautiful ones too,
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's
you
true.
know, in the face and everything, man. So
So, I said that because it's true. There's a lot of ugly Americans, and O'Shea is not afraid to say that he's ugly. And I think he only does that so when people do say that he's ugly, it doesn't hurt his feelings because he already took the hurt out of himself by saying that, if that makes any sense. But one thing I really hate is when there's nothing you could do about it, to be honest with you. But if you don't see the inner beauty of a person, no matter what they look like on the outside, you're never going to see who they really are. It's just true. Whether if it's just a friendship relationship or a loving relationship, you're not going to find the beauty within that person. And with men, especially more than women, we're very visual creatures, and that's always going to be a factor all over the world. However, if the lights were turned out and a man had a woman next to him, he doesn't care what she looks like. He's going to go for her no matter what. If he's into her, he's going to go for her. That's just a fact. Men are that way. And that's just something that's natural. So that's the reason why I say these things, because I'm not afraid to say it when people bring these things up. But let's go.
don't take it there and just say that they're ugly. You just got to get used to a different look. They're not into makeup. The personalities when they smile, their faces and everything look different. It's just something to do with the muscles.
And what I was trying to say here, because I was forgetting words that were like stuck in my head. What I was trying to say is, with the muscles and all that, I didn't mean to say it that way. I meant to say that they're a lot more feminine. So when they have that different look, and you just got to get used to a different look, is you got to get used to a look of women who actually come off as feminine. Doesn't mean that they're weak. They come off as feminine. American women don't come off as being feminine people. And so therefore a lot of men are used to that in America because that's what they have. That's all they see. That's all they know. But when you go to other places, you could see women who are feminine, and they could be just as feminist as American women, but they could still have that actual genuine persona of actually being a feminine woman because that's how they're raised, where American women do not, except a tiny, tiny little bit. Okay. And that's a fact, but let's go ahead and go.
Food, I don't know, but it's just different.
Okay, cool. Let's do this. Let's take this time to take just a quick intermission. Once again, thank you guys for supporting the show. I really appreciate everybody in here. Thank you to Junk Pile Video for coming by. It's always great. You guys are are the best fans in the world. Shout out to my man Rick Thompson. Appreciate you, North Star. I appreciate you, Big Willie. Appreciate you. I appreciate all of you guys. JR Wisdom. Do me a favor, 96 people, right? Let's get the likes up, brothers, if we can. Let's keep the likes coming up, and keep the videos coming up and liking. Now, for some of you who have not checked out Junk Pile Video YouTube channel, you are in for a treat. Like I said, he's highly bright, highly articulate. He will also roast you too. So he has some of those kind of videos up there, believe it or not. Especially.
And the thing is that I never roasted anybody on my videos when I was reacting on the other channel. I was reacting to scammers, like the name Junk Pile Video. Okay, so like, what does a junk pile mean? I mean, a junk pile could be either people throw away junk that's actually junk, and then people throw away a lot of junk that's not actually junk, right? There's some good stuff you can pull out of a junk pile. So the reason I came up with that name is that, either some of the stuff I talk about is either good or bad, right? So I had content that was good or bad, and the bad part was me reacting to scammers. Like I said, especially one particular person out of a few, that she just kept scamming people over and over and over again, and she kept making me come up with content to react to her about because of her online scams, and she was so open about it. But yeah, I wasn't roasting anybody. I was just laying it out on the line. That's all I was doing.
against like some of this world nation. What up, Richard 8209? Hit the like button. Appreciate you, fam. 2269 in the chat. Love you guys, man. You guys are gonna make me rich. I'm about to get a Jerry curl again. So let's do this.
RT Clancy, man. I don't know if you just seen what he said, but that question. Any big booty white women in Africa?
All right, hold on. This RT Clancy dude, I think like this brother comes in here all the time. He's always talking about, oh, I'm finna donate, oh, I'm finna do this. He just comes in here and trolls, bro. Like, I don't even know why he's here, because he's like always asking some questions like out of the blue. But shout out to that nigga. Our Richard 8209, shout out to him. Black Lion said I got roasted by JPV. It was an honor. RT Clancy, I don't want to see no Freddie Williams. You know what, bro? I'm like 3 seconds from banning you. What up, Ronald K. Armstrong, Friendmaker? Let's be frank. What's up, man? Glad to see you here, bro. Appreciate you being here from the SYBSM part of YouTube. Let's do this. Let's subscribe to Drunk Kyle video. If you can, I'll put his link there. You're in for a real treat. Drunk Kyle video is, you know, one of the undertoning content creators. Although he's not black, but you would damn sure forget it. I mean, real quick, I have to keep reminding myself. But he's definitely, man, very, very helpful. He's very, 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 very helpful. He will do anything to help you. He's always trying to, you know, to give more knowledge, to help more people, to go to Africa. Now, that's something when you get a person who's not black, telling black people, hey, bro, listen, you should go to Africa. He's white, you know what I mean? And I think Junk Power Video has probably told 99% of people that I've seen on YouTube in the sector, Junk Power Video is the only person that I've heard tell black men to go to Africa, and he's white. That's the only, like, I've heard Search for Uhuru say it, but he's the only one that's consistently always saying it.
Okay, so you heard it from Oshay. Whenever I say that I'm the first person to ever evangelize about Africa and how a great place it is online, I was actually the very first person that I know of anywhere actually doing that. This was way before Searcher Uhuru was doing it, but Searcher Uhuru is on this racist Pan-African kick, so he's not really evangelizing about Africa. But after quite a few bad experiences with Americans, and especially Oshay, that ended it for me. I stopped evangelizing about Africa for the most part. It's only to tight-knit people, if I ever come across tight-knit people, will ever get any information out of me again about going to Africa for anything, because the reality of what I've seen of people going there has been absolutely disgusting for the most part, from what I'm seeing at Facebook when I used to hang out there, and now on YouTube, because YouTube picked it up later. So people were actually doing some crap on Facebook, and Facebook was a lot more toxic. That's where I used to do all my reactions before I came to YouTube. I've been doing reactions for well over 20 years off and on. So I've been in the game for a long time when it comes to reacting to scammers and bums and all that other stuff. So, yeah, so basically he admitted it. I was the one more than anybody else. And I was doing this before. Basically, a lot of people that are in Africa now, they know it through me. They just don't know it. So basically, he kind of spread the word. And when he went to when he went to Uganda and everything like that, I'm going to get more into Kenganda and all that other stuff on how all that came to be. Because again, I had a lot to do with that. But let's go.
This theme, he promotes Africa. And he's really one of the guys that's got me going over there. And I got a surprise for Drunk Coffee. I won't tell him right now, but got a big surprise for him when I come back.
And I never got that surprise. So he never told me what the surprise was, if there ever was one. Never got nothing in the mail. Never got an email. Nothing. So who knew?
From there, because he inspired me to go. So when I come back, I'll bring him something back, send it to him. So let's go ahead and get the likes up, brothers. Shout out to Ronald K. Armstrong. Wrote an excellent article in the Negro Manosphere. He'll be on tomorrow night. He's a filmmaker, film producer. He wrote a great article on the site talking about the emasculation of black men in Hollywood. If you are not subscribed to the Negro Manosphere, please put your email in the comment section of the chat. I have 96 people watching. We're closing in on 1,000 subscribed emails. So please, brothers, come here and put your emails in. RT Clancy, Houdini Dimes, Big Willie, Black Lion. I think you're already subscribed. But if you're not subscribed to Negro Manosphere, D-Train Burnt Bunk, I don't know if you're subscribed. Shout out to Tar Willie. Araka. What up, Araka? I'm pretty sure he's subscribed. Put the actual emails there so we can get you subscribed to the site. JPV, let's continue, bro.
Okay.
Now, I want to talk to you about some certain things because you're going over to Kenya. What do you miss most about America being over in Kenya?
Now, that's a tough one because I've been asked that question before, and I think I've actually given different answers to different people, not on purpose. It just kind of changes. Outside of having access to the internet, I really don't see anything. Not that I can't get internet there, but you know, the here, that's about the only thing I could think of that I'm going to miss. But that's changing over there because more and more people are getting connected to the fiber optics that's hooked up over there now. So if that's any inclination of that I hate America, I hate America.
Okay, so I told you ahead of time that I'm going to say this. So my reason for saying this is because the political climate here is one reason. People not being very friendly is another reason. The whole dynamics of marriage is like totally shot in this country. When it comes to socially, this country is very messed up. A lot of people are not socially messed up in this country. That I'll have to say, and I'll have to stick with that because it's true. But there's so many people that are, and it just seems like they're the majority when they're actually not the majority. However, our media doesn't help with that. And so that's the reasons why I say this, because basically you feel a lot of times that in America, when you want to stand for something good, and I used to be all American. I used to be like rooting for America. There's nothing you used to be able to tell me that America wasn't the best in everything. There was a time I was that way, but it wasn't no foreigner from the outside coming in that made me feel this way. It was the Americans themselves, in one form or another that basically got me to feel that way. And I still love America, but I hate America at the same time because it could be better. And the things that I learned in Kenya, especially the way how people interact with each other, the strong family units, the marriage percentage that's very high, divorce rates are very low. America can do a reset and learn from Africa and take those good qualities of Africa and bring it to America. But I don't see that happening. And so that's why I said I hate America and I don't want to retire here. But again, I love this place because, I'm born and raised here. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for America, but Africa is my home.
Okay. All right. And once again, shout out to Richard 8209 RM Dallas at yahoo.com. Thank you, bro. I'm going to subscribe you there. But let's talk about this China infrastructure. Shout out to Kenneth Banks because, I talked to you about this before. We talked about there was a story where Chinese people had a restaurant and then they wouldn't even they wouldn't even let Kenyans come in that restaurant after a certain time.
Right.
Let's talk about the impact of the Chinese in Kenya, and also, can you tell us what other African countries that you've been to?
Okay, so let's clear that one up right now. I've only been to Burundi and Kenya, and in Burundi, it was just a touchdown for 30 minutes on Air Brussels to go to Kenya from Brussels, and that was it. I haven't been to any other one. Plan to go to Tanzania and Uganda with my wife at a later time. So let's just say it's Kenya.
Okay, this Kenya. Yep. What do you see as far as the economy? Who's running the merchandising there? When you go to the markets, who's owning the businesses in Kenya? Who's controlling the money?
There's actually, and I don't remember what channel it is. I think it's Nation Media. They have a TV show where they talk about almost every night or every week who owns Kenya. And let's see, Equity Bank is a good one. There's more than one person or company that owns equity. It was a couple Nigerians out of the UK that owned bought out the majority of Equity Bank. So there's a lot of British, there's a lot of Indian, and then there's a lot of Africans that own property. And
So that part where I cut out owning property, I said there's a lot of Africans that own property. So there seems to be an idea with a lot of Americans that never been to Kenya or anywhere else in Africa, or if they've been, they just don't learn while they're there. They stay ignorant, so they're just as ignorant when they leave Africa before they went in. That Africans do own majority of what's there. So I mean, you look at building after building after building. There's usually an African that owns that building, and it doesn't matter if it's in a CBD or if it's in a residential neighborhood. What I've seen in Kenya, majority of Kenyans own Kenya.
Businesses within Kenya. And so there's a way to research it in Kenya. And I'm sure there's ways to research that same type of information in all the other African countries. But if you think it's just mostly solely Kenyans and you thought it was just all Chinese, you're wrong. Chinese are there in Kenya, but they're not in Kenya as big as, like, say, Angola and a few other African countries. They're mainly there just to build the railroad. They really don't have a big impact. And the thing about the Kenyan government, as far as the railroad, which was just finished, they just had their launch today, the 31st, to go from the Nairobi terminus to the Mombasa terminus. And there's 31 stations in between. It was mostly Kenyans that built that track and that train. And they took about a couple hundred people to China to train them to be engineers to run that train.
So if anybody from Kenya takes that train quite a bit, I took it one time going to Mombasa and back. And when I said there was 31 stations in between, when I took that train, okay, that's what I read from the site, SGR site, that there's 31, or it was the news at the time that was saying that. But it didn't seem like there was 31 stations. It seemed more like it was like maybe 15 to 20. So if somebody knows and can tell me if I was wrong or right based on what I heard or what I read, I would like to know that, because I forgot that I said 31. And when I took it back in 2021. And this was 2017 when it launched. So it didn't seem like there was 31 stops, but let me know if you can.
It was majority of the people there that built that had to be Kenyan, whereas in Angola, it was 100% Chinese from what I hear. Very serious about it.
So at least the Kenyan government forced, listen, Chinese, you guys can do this, but you're actually going to train our people to do the work.
Exactly, because you can't just build an infrastructure. It's so sophisticated. I'm going to tell you now. I was watching the videos last night to catch up. It's Kenya Railways, which is owned by the government, by the way. So sophisticated that they can't just leave it hanging there with no way to be trained. And they weren't just going to have Chinese engineers there to run the operation. It's to build the operation or to help build it and then give it over. That's the agreement. And so far, it's great. The launch went on without a hitch. And this same company that from China is going to build it all the way to Rwanda, Uganda, and a few other African countries to connect with Mombasa on the ocean. So this is going to be a much bigger project in the future, but it's going to be Kenyans, Ugandans, and other Africans that are going to be running it. I had some videos on the Kenyan railways later on my channel. So
okay, shout out to the Ron in the chat. Let me do this. Carlos G, man, you always donate a good amount. It's always like a weird number, like 1914 or something. Keep putting the fire under these fools, whether male or female. True gender equality. Appreciate you. Charles Gilmore. Hey, bro, listen, man, you already donated enough. You don't need to donate. Shout out to Charles Gilmore 3. Okay. Theron and Charles Gilmore, you guys, listen, just actually, you guys are good, bro. Like, I love you guys. You guys just kill. Okay, I'm going to ask the questions. Don't worry about putting in the money. All right, Charles Gilmore III, I really appreciate that, brother. Let me make him a moderator, man, in here. I wonder what.
Yeah, I'm looking at his.
Okay, I wonder what is the most adverse situation that JPV has faced in Africa, if any.
Not too much. I think the biggest one ever is my wife, after her parents died, there was a family that took care of him, and the father of that family was taking me around with my camera to another district. And the chief in that area basically said, don't take pictures, which I had no problem doing. But people, if they ask me to take the picture, because sometimes they just come up to you, just take my picture, for nothing. So I did that for a few, and then all of a sudden a few guys wanted some money. They went and ran to the chief like little kids, and he came out and said, Keith, come here, bring your camera, blah, 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 whatever. And he basically kind of tried to scare me into giving him some money. All right. And he said, I can take your camera from you if I want to. And I said, no, you can't. And I know the laws. And being a chief doesn't necessarily give you like legal authority over anybody, but they're more of a counsel type of person. And it was in a dispensary, basically like a medical dispensary. There's a lot of them that are built out there, but they're not being utilized for medical. They might be just there collecting dust or to teach a couple math classes, things of that nature. So it was outside of a medical dispensary.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest issue I've ever had. Otherwise, for the most part, man, I feel nothing but love over there.
Okay. Big Willie asked, Big Willie, bro, you prices for food in Africa. Let's talk about going out on a night on the town.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you been to Mombasa also, or just
I've been to Mombasa once. That was on my first time out there, and that was where me and my wife had our honeymoon.
Oh, okay, cool. Damn, Rick Thompson got hella money. Rick, no, just to ask some. All right, guys, hold on, man.
So for those who don't know Oshay, he likes to do a lot of clowning in between, the interview sessions and stuff like that. Unless it's pre-recorded, that'll be different. But when he's doing lives, he does this quite a bit. He doesn't do many live interviews anymore. It's mostly pre-records. But when he used to do it all the time, when it goes like an hour or more and stuff like this is like an hour and 42 minutes. This is what he does. So you could tell he's not a professional interviewer. He still is not. So he uses a script, which is okay. But this is just him. So if you're wondering why this is kind of like dragging on, it's because some of the stuff he's like trying to figure out other questions to ask me. It's not like he really had a bunch of questions written down. He's just kind of going off the cuff at this point.
All right, I got something to show, man. You guys are so good to me, bro. It's just amazing, man. Charles, bro, you always support. Rick Thompson has always support, man. No questions, just a little something for your trip. Stay out there, bro. Charles, get him one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, man.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Dude, I'm like, I almost want to kick him out of the chat because he gives so much damn, and he doesn't have to. You know what I mean? It's like just every fucking show. I'm gonna start doing these motherfuckers when he is asleep, so he can save some of his damn money. But appreciate you guys, man. You guys are very, very good to me, man. I really, 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 really thank you for what you guys do. I'm gonna add you guys as moderators. I ain't gonna add nobody else. But thank you guys for what you do, man. Really, really, I'm very touched. For the generosity that you guys really, really bring to me. Let's talk about the food on the in Africa, bro. What we're looking at.
Me and my wife, we like to eat out quite a bit, probably about almost 50% of the time, which we shouldn't, but you're probably going to spend between two people, like for a full plate.
Mm-hmm.
Rice, chicken, mukimo, which is basically like greens and potatoes kind of mixed up together. It's all green.
Mm-hmm.
And a few other things, but no machoma, which just means roasted meat. You're mostly eating goat, roasted goat, roasted beef. That can run you, depending on where you go, about $1 for a slab of meat. Let's see.
So I didn't remember the price that I quoted him, but you can see the audio cut out. So, but prices change due to political situations. Gas prices go up. No machoma goes up.
All the meat there, by the way, doesn't have hormones and all that other shit in it. So
Okay.
Tastes better. But yeah, and that includes a drink too for those prices.
Wow. Okay. So we're working with a drink. Okay. What about renting in this particular area? I know that you're in Nairobi. Let's say I want to stay in a good neighborhood, maybe like the Westlands. What are some of the good areas of Nairobi that you would want to live in if you were, when you go back, or advise somebody to stay in? What areas can we look for?
Well, you can do Parklands, you can do Westlands. You can do parts of South B. There's areas outside of the city center. I can't think of the name of them right now, but you're probably going to look at comfortably like a nice 1-bedroom in those places for about $700-800 a month.
700 or 800 at that time.
If they know you're a tourist, like working for an NGO, they're probably going to charge you $1,500 to $2,000.
Wow. Wow.
Just like a humble apartment, 2-bedroom, like where me and my wife live, you can get it for about $350 a month.
Okay. What are we looking at? As far as utilities, are concerned.
Me and my wife pay an average of $6 a month. I really can't say about those other neighborhoods, but we don't have that many electronics. We just got one outlet, and we share that outlet on a power strip. So.
Wow. It's $7 a month.
I pay $6. I know. My wife has never paid $7 that she's told me.
Okay, so and a shout out to Geo Scholar, man. Love your work, Oshay, from your own perspective. Much more growth. Do you think you'll be? Do you think there will be? Okay, love your work, Oshay. From your perspective, Oshay and JPV. Do you think there'll be much more growth in places like Kenya, Tanzania, and Mozambique?
So just to let anybody know, $6 was back in the day, back then. Prices now for electricity, ever since Ruto became president, has skyrocketed everywhere, both for residential and business. So those good prices like that are not quite so good anymore. For now, anyway.
I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, let's start with Kenya. Kenya is the technology hub of all of Africa. It's not South Africa. So Mark Zuckerberg recently, a few months back, went to Kenya to try to buy out M-Pesa, which is owned by Safaricom. Safaricom is the biggest cell phone company out there. So what M-Pesa is basically you take your SIM card on your phone, like say 3,000 shillings, send it to a family member, and they can either pick it up in their bank or go to an ATM within 2 hours and have the 3,000 shillings, just like that. The fees are very cheap. So Mark Zuckerberg was interested in that. I think he did buy a portion of it that you can use with Facebook. Infrastructure, as far as IT, it's unlimited. You got Google out there. You got a bunch of other companies from here in Silicon Valley over there. And of course, it's just on the table of making an Africa Silicon Valley in the Savo Park. They need about 30 manufacturers to actually commit, but it's basically going to be a secluded Silicon Valley in the middle of a national park. Right now, they only have about 14 companies that are manufacturers that actually would do R&D there, and R&D just means research and development, not necessarily manufacturing. So if that ever gets off the ground, that would be in Kenya. As far as Tanzania, I really don't know. I think there's a lot more in tourism that's going to pick up there because Kenya is the leader in tourism. Tanzania is second. So tourism is still a heavy business that anybody can get into because the amount of people that come in during the tourist seasons, they don't have enough tour guides. So if you can like set up a travel office where you're at locally and have some connections in Kenya and Tanzania, even Mozambique, you can make some pretty good money. Best thing to do is go out there, meet some people, see how it's done. That's still a big market to get into. Agriculture, Tanzania and Kenya, definitely big businesses as well. So if you got a master's or PhD in agriculture, those are hotbeds for that, man. Real hotbeds. You can get with some really good NGOs or private companies in both of those countries. Mozambique, however, I don't think they do anything agriculturally, but I could be wrong.
What about healthcare? I mean, what did you see? Did you ever see a doctor while you were in Kenya? Did you ever see how much did those things cost?
I myself, I've never had to go to the doctor. I've never caught malaria.
Lucky.
I never gotten sick there. No, so, but it's, if you're going to go to a private doctor, you don't have to wait in line. If you're going to go to the general hospital, you'll wait in line. And a lot of times you'll have to pay in advance, whatever the problem is going to be. If you don't have the money, it is in some situations at the general hospitals, they won't see you. So that is a little bit of a drawback. But if you have a private doctor, you're not going to wait in line. You're just going to spend a little money, but it's a lot cheaper there to pay a bill than it is here.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So, you know.
So you can see throughout so far for the people who've been here from the beginning, and the questions that he's asked me and I've answered is that in even stuff I volunteered, I've already, and this is not even over, I've already given him like a ton of information years ahead of all these other guys that are doing these stupid videos, putting cameras in people's faces and asking dumb questions about a lot of the same things that we talked about in this particular interview. And it saddens me that, you know, Oshay really took this opportunity to F everything up for himself, because I was really wanting to help him go to Africa and get a different perspective. Because when we were on the phone, this is literally what he said to me, is that he's trying to find somebody to help him to get into Africa. And he says, the reason why I wanted to get into Africa is because of your African videos. And there was one particular Canadian guy that was a small-time YouTuber, just a small-time vlogger. He would mostly go to Kenya, sometimes Uganda, and he's from Canada, and he's a self-made what do you call it, software developer. So he has his own software developing business, and he takes his vacations in East Africa quite a bit. So he told me that he tried to contact that guy, and that guy never replied back to him. Well, now I know why. He saw something in Oshay that which in my gut, I knew there's something wrong with Oshay because of the way he was talking about Africans. But like I said, you know, I give somebody the benefit of the doubt if I see some type of change, you know, and especially if they're asking for your help. And he wasn't rude to me when he was coming at me, right? So yeah, it's like what he had told me is that he's scared to come into Africa. He actually is one of those people that thought if he goes to the Jomo Kenyatta airport, that he thinks he's probably going to run into a lion or a tiger, literally. And for those who don't hear Americans speak that much, that is like some people's fear is running into a wild animal, going to the, getting off the plane at the airport, at any airport in Africa. So now there is a national park right next door to the airport, and there used to not be a fence. And I know somebody that works at the airport. She said when she got off one day, there was an elephant in the parking lot. So, so maybe that was true at one point, but you don't have to worry about lions and tigers or elephants for that matter. When you land in Nairobi, there's a big old fence that's taller than the giraffes, and you ain't got to worry about that. But anyway, he was literally scared, and he needed to him a Caucasian's validation. Because if a Caucasian could go there and not be scared and know how to move around, then he'll feel comfortable about going. And that's the literal truth. Because there was another time, after he went into Uganda, when he came back, we were talking on the phone and he was drunk and he said, you white guys are gods. He even told me he was on the floor. He was drunk. He couldn't get into the chair. He's drunk. He goes, you white guys are gods. And I just let him get himself together. We continued the conversation. And then after we got off the phone, he did a live stream while drunk. And we've seen him drunk before on some of his live streams. So we know he's an alcoholic. But anyway, he needed validation. These are the conversations, some of the stuff of the conversations we had on the phone. And that was one of them. So he tried to get people to help him. They wouldn't help him. I gave him the opportunity. but I didn't know what I know now. And like I said, he really messed this up for himself because he could have had so many genuine friends in Africa, right? This is a guy who likes to give people money so they could be close to him. And that's unfortunate because he said quite a few different times that he pays people to be around him because he thinks in his mind you have to give people money in order to be their friend. And that's sad. That is really sad. And that's when he's talking about, being from Sacramento and everything like that. When he's in Uganda, there's another time that he paid a DJ $200 just to talk with him about doing some videos with him, right? And I'm like thinking, why give this guy $200? Because if you're going to pay him anyway for doing the videos, he would have came up, he would have showed up anyway. And basically the way the videos came out, they were actually okay. They were pretty good. But the initial thing was to basically bribe the guy with $200 to convince him to come do some videos with him, because that's the way he thinks. That's the way he wastes money. And anytime people does that, when they put their hand out with money in front of your face, you can never trust that person. You can never trust that person. That's why he has so many problems with so many people, is because of how he moves in Africa. Is he's giving people money thinking he can buy everybody. And that's just not the way you're supposed to roll. And not only that, you leave yourself open to scammers who are willing to scam you even if you didn't do that. But then you're trying to do that to people that are thinking like, this guy trying to bribe me? That's exactly what he's doing. But he doesn't see it that way, and it's unfortunate.
Definitely, we have that going. Let me see. What are some other things? Now, I guess what I want to know is this: since you've been married to your wife from Kenya, you've been married for over 10 years, right?
Yes.
At least. Okay.
Yes.
What differences do you see? I mean, now it's been 10 years. I'm pretty sure you have your ups and downs. But still, if you can compare your experience to dating and marrying to a Kenyan woman, what advantages do you have? Do you feel that you have of versus marrying an American woman?
One of the biggest differences, they leave you alone. If you need, I'm serious. If you need man time, whether if it's just to be by yourself or hang with the fellas, they leave you alone. That's not to say that when you're there, not overseas, but when you're there with her, that you don't give her any attention. You got to give her some attention. You know what I mean? Because it's not a 50-50 deal, but it's in a marriage agreement. You got to give her some time. The other big difference is that I don't hear cuss words all the time. So the cussing I've been doing lately is because I'm back over here. I've gotten used to it again. Over there, she has to check me. She's like, as soon as I say the F word or anything, it's a big deal. It's a very big deal. The other advantages is I'm not allowed to wash the dishes if I want to. I got to sneak around and do that. If I want to, I can't cook because she's going to cook for me. Bath water because she's going to do it. That type of stuff. Those are big advantages. She basically just wants to take care of me, and that's what a lot of women do there. It's a lot of things that you don't think about that you start noticing once you're around an African woman compared to American woman. So it's kind of hard to say, but those things come out right away. You start noticing those right away.
Did your wife have? Did she come from a particular, like a middle class background, where her parents professional people? I mean, I know a lot of times, like when we think of, I'm gonna marry a Filipino woman or an African woman or a Brazilian woman. I need to do a video on that. A lot of times we don't take into consideration that, the kind of person you are needs to be reflected in that person as far as what's their level of education, what's their level of intellect, what's their level of conversation. What kind of family and background did your wife come from? And if you don't mind asking or answering that, and then that way, maybe the people can get maybe more of a realistic idea of, what ballpark or what type of, mindset they should be looking for in a woman to pair off with.
That's a great question, because I wanted to kind of do a video about that at some point. To start off, well, her father comes from a family of 10 brothers and one sister between two wives from his father. And that's two wives being married at the same time.
Damn.
He's the oldest out of all the kids. He was the first to go to college. Somehow he put himself through college. Poor background in Meru, Kenya. Ended up becoming, after a while, a bank manager at Barclays Bank, which is probably still the biggest bank in the UK.
Yeah.
And what he had done when he was a manager, he made so much money, he actually, moved his family into a fairly nice home in Nanyuki. They had a refrigerator they never had before, some amenities that most people don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up paying the college tuition of all his younger brothers when they got out of high school. He's one by one, he was paying for all of them. But then he passed away when she was about 10 years old. Passed away, the wife, she was only a school teacher, her mom.
Mm-hmm.
So being a school teacher, you don't make a lot of money, but she's educated. Her father was educated. They're both college, graduates. So anyway, she had to make the decision that we can't no longer spend the money on these college tuitions for his younger brothers. And I think there's only two of them left that needed to graduate. So one of those two held a grudge, but against my wife and her three brothers, because her mother ended up dying about 5 years after her husband died.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And and both of them died. It wasn't of AIDS or anything like that. It was alcohol and then depression because her husband was gone, But anyway, they lost a lot of the stuff that they had that was left over for the kids. My wife sacrificed her high school last year of education because you got to pay for high school out there, so her youngest brother could graduate.
Wow.
So basically, so you can see, again, this is another opportunity to look at the behavior, the body language of Oshay. And it's when he said, wow, it's kind of more or less like a sigh. This is the stuff that he's really not interested in and what I'm talking about. So the other things that he's more excited, you can tell the difference. Again, when some of you are going to actually watch this again, you can kind of see those differences. And this is what I want you to see about Oshay. When it comes to particular topics, you can see what he's interested in and what he's not interested in. So this was a live interview. It's not like he really could get away with it, right? So with a pre-recorded interview, everything is pretty much edited to cut out, like the ums, the uhs, and some silent time of 5 seconds here and there. That's what usually goes on with pre-recorded interviews. But you get to see another side of him that a lot of you have never seen before. And this is how he behaves. He's not really interested in the important stuff in life. You know what I mean? He's interested in things like drama and basically exploiting women. That's what it is.
Me and her really got along because I kind of looked at her as, the way I grew up with my family. It's like nobody paid attention to me.
Mm-hmm.
My family, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't do all this crazy stuff that both my mom and my dad's side of the family were doing. So I was an outcast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't close to my parents. So therefore she lost her parents. So I felt kind of like that connection right there. And we got along great with a lot of other topics. But in other circumstances, I wouldn't have told that story for the simple fact that would be like family business. But since no one's ever going to meet her and things of that nature, I wanted to let that be known because that's how it went. That is her background, economic background.
Okay.
Started out good and didn't end up so good.
Okay. But besides all of the things is that you have, she's definitely seems like a very hardworking person. Mm-hmm. Definitely seems like a very enterprising person because she still has a business. She's performing well in this business. What difference did you see in her than you saw maybe as far as like business, wanting to be successful and running her own business? How did that attract you to her?
I was the total opposite of American women. I've had two businesses in the past myself. One was a retail business selling like Japanese goods, like collector's items like Godzilla and stuff like that. That business didn't do too well. But I had a girlfriend at the time. I said, hey, When I get off work, I got to spend X amount of hours on the side business to try to make it successful. And after 60 days, she says, you don't love me anymore. You love Godzilla more than you love me. So there's that time of a 60-day period where she just broke alone because I was busy all the time. So my last chance American girlfriend that lasted 8.5 years, I had a second business where I was selling like video cables and stuff like that online. Now that was getting successful. And it was the same thing. I asked the question before, can you handle the amount of time after work that I need to spend on this business to make it successful? Same thing. Yeah, no problem. No problem. I swear to God, it was 60 days. She did the exact same thing. You love them video cables more than you love me. You love that HDMI more than you love me. I mean, it's just crazy. Now, because of the culture over there, you want to have your own business.
Right.
So that right there was a big difference. If I want to read a book, she'll leave me alone so I can read my damn book. It doesn't matter if it's for pleasure or for business. She'll just leave me alone and she'll do whatever she has to do the whole damn day. It makes a big difference in me getting things done or doing the things that I want to do without any interruptions.
Okay. Let me see. Ask this. If you go to Kenya with, obviously in America, you have a really, really, really good job here. Why would you want to leave what you have here in America and go to Kenya and kind of risk it? I mean, why wouldn't you just stay in America with your Kenyan wife and live, a fairly easier life, because you're very smart, you're very enterprising, obviously. Why would you want to risk it going back to Africa? I'm just saying, if there's somebody that thinks that thinks in the matrix, you know what I mean? They haven't traveled anywhere. Why would you leave what you have here to go back to Kenya and it's uncertain for you there?
Well, if it's uncertain, then I just have to break it down to the basics. We're men. We take risk. And if you never take any risk, you'll never find out if it's going to be worth it or not. So what's worth it to me is finding my own happiness. And my own happiness is definitely not here in America. You can work for 10 years or you can work for 20 years, but you're going to have an extra 10 years that you're going to suffer over here just working, but find no happiness unless you're over there. Now, you can take your money from here and go over there and start a business. Or you can, know people and get a job that you want to be in, or at least with a company that you want to be with to work. But if those two things don't pan out, you got to remember, you can take business classes here or over there and learn how to run a business. You just need a little bit of capital because there's more businesses being ran out there that you can work with as a business owner than you can find a job, because most of the jobs are not out there, but businesses are. And here there's more business. It's easier to get a job than to create a business and keep it alive. It's the opposite there. That's what I really meant to say.
Okay, perfect. So I definitely understand that. Now let's talk about this, because the Africa, like I was watching in the Uganda, places like Kampala. I know you've never been, but a place like Kampala, where you have so much corruption in the Ugandan government. You have a big place where there is how can I say this? You have a huge place, and the city has no room for expansion. You have no other major cities that are being developed. Now I know Kenya is much more equipped to handle these things, but still, in comparison to like maybe a city that I'm living in, Poland, which is Lublin, you have a lot of more advanced roads, a lot of more advanced things. A person of your skill set, it's back to the uncertain thing there. But do you think that you're able to at least make the kind of money that you would make in America someday in Kenya? And have you gotten do you think that Kenya will provide you an opportunity to do so in the future?
Absolutely. And that's the advantage of being a salesman. I know a lot of people don't like being into sales, but if you can make it out here in America, you can pretty much make it anywhere. And you got to have that mindset. Wherever there is a demand, if you can fit the supply to that demand, you're going to make a living. Okay. So
say it again for those people
I hope I can remember it the same way. If you can sell,
Right.
and you find the demand and you can supply that demand, you're going to make a living. So the simple fact that my wife never knew, because she used to sell used clothes and didn't make hardly anything, was doing it. And then she started selling new clothes just to take a risk of selling new clothes, thinking nobody can afford it. It was the polar opposite. Everybody wanted the new stuff. They spent the extra money. People wanted rain gear. They started asking her for things that, can you bring from Nairobi, because she sells out of town. Friends. She's getting new connections all the time. She now sells pineapples twice a year out of Thika, which is about an hour outside of Nairobi. So 2 times a year, she makes a lot extra money selling, not pine cones. I say pine cones, pineapples. And then there's some other fruit in Mombasa she just tried last year, and she started making money on that because some woman came to her, do business, can you help me out?
Wow.
And it wasn't pineapples, it was something else. I don't know if it was coconuts or what it was, but it was something else. So my wife is very enterprising to dip her fingers in other areas just to see if things work. And if they work, she continues. And she has a sticks to, okay, her and her friends both, or all 3 of them actually, they just go to this town that week, that town that week, that town that week. They take a vacation this 2 weeks and then go back and do it all over again.
Wow. That's absolutely great, man. You know, that's able to be done. It's a wonderful thing to see, you know, that, and I had Chris Jones. I don't know if you were here when you heard, were you here for that Chris Jones interview?
I don't remember. Where's he from?
Chris Jones is,
or where is he at?
He's from Dallas, Texas. He's a bodybuilder, Pump Chasers.
Oh, yeah. I saw the beginning of it, but I didn't get to watch it all. No.
And one of the biggest bodybuilding channels on YouTube, very, very popular. Shout out to him. We did a giveaway. I ordered some shirts for him, and he sent those. Yeah, Dallas, Fort Worth area, Randy Sargent. He definitely going to come back probably when I get back from Africa. He told his story very similar to what you're talking about now, how he was enterprising, you know, became a millionaire, you know, just kind of stuck to it, and being a salesperson, you know. That's the thing people don't understand, you know, selling, fitting the demand, fitting a certain thing, making yourself valuable to certain situations. I think a lot of people make the mistake of focusing on what you want to do, when a lot of times what you want to do is not so viable. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily putting you in a position of economic importance. So this is what, I mean, I know that people like you're doing, you know, what your wife is doing, so I really respect that. Do you see a lot of other people in Kenya that are other Africans that live there that are from other places of the diaspora that you noticed? Other races?
Well, yeah, absolutely. You got to remember, Kenya is the refugee hub for a few neighboring countries over the course of like 25, 30 years. So you definitely have a lot of people from different areas, you know, that have second generation have stayed there because they're born there and they live there, and they're now Kenyan citizens. So South Sudanese, you see quite a bit of, Ethiopians, Somalians, of course, Tanzanians, anything that surrounds Kenya, you're going to see a lot of those folks there.
Okay. Now, Ethiopians, do they run any, shout out to Gila also, do they run a lot of businesses, a lot of merchandise in Kenya, or are they kind of like...
In their neighborhood, yeah. They got a neighborhood called Pangani, which is, my wife used to live in Pangani, which is right next door to the Somalian neighborhood called Eastleigh. And most of the Somalis, that's where they make their money, is within their neighborhood. So yeah, they do run businesses, and it's...
So I think he only asked me about the Ethiopians, to be honest with you. Again, this is after watching it many times. Because he's into Ethiopian women. He likes their look, like a lot of men do, right? So even though it was a fairly like easy question, what I get from him, because now I know him a lot better than then, is he was after getting a little more information based on, you know, if he's going to look for an Ethiopian female, he wants to know where they hang out at. So he now knows where they hang out at in Nairobi.
Thing, making yourself valuable to certain situations. I think a lot of people
My bad. I just hit the back button.
make the mistake of focusing on what you want to do, when a lot of times what you want to do is not so viable. You know.
And lastly, and this will confuse some people, women are not loyal. A little over an hour, but I would definitely like to get some information out about this website. So some I know, I just remember what he said, and that's basically how it's mainly just doing the same thing, but catering to Eritreans and things of that nature, just like the Somalis do.
Oh, okay. So they kind of cater. Now, what do the Somalian? I mean, I know the Somalian women and Ethiopian people kind of look the same. Are they technically like from the same genre of people?
They are, and there's a lot of big controversial topics about that, especially with the Somalians. And I have to, one guy I worked with who is Somalian, who's very well educated about his own history, told me that a lot of Somalians don't know their own history, but we come from the Ethiopian Empire. Somalia used to be Ethiopia at one time. Now, a lot of Somalians will look up and down and say, "You're crazy. We have never been Ethiopian. They are us." So you kind of see what that is. No, Ethiopians are actually Somalians.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. There's no written history that I know. I just remember what he said, and that's basically how I got to play it out is, they used to be the same at one time. Djibouti used to be Somalia, which is its own country now. To be Ethiopia. They were fighting over oil, over 60 years ago. That's why
I meant to say it used to be Ethiopia.
They separated. They don't deny that they're the same, between Eritreans and Ethiopians. But yeah, that's mainly who you see there.
Okay. Well, wow, man, I've learned a lot. I always do learn a lot, from the brothers that are kicking knowledge and game. Shout out to so many people here in the chat. Let's see. Pretty much, I really don't have. I say, how long have we been on this hangout so far?
A little over an hour, but I would definitely like to get some information out about this website, so some of these guys here can get this experience with some women without buying a plane ticket too early. You know what I mean?
Okay, sure. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so first let's start with let's get the likes up, because I'm going to give some information to you guys that you really never heard from other people. Some of it's going to be the same, but some of it's not, because I haven't heard anybody else talk about it. Let me first make a disclaimer, though, to the female audience, and if it does not apply, you got to let it fly. I'm serious, because I got 11 things here that's going to piss off some American females listening. One, and this goes without saying, American women are too fat. Now let's see what the comments are going to say. All right. Number two, American women play too many games. 3, American women are not loyal. And number 4, American women have too many babies with too many daddies. American women are too easy to bed down. And if you're having trouble with that, that's because your game ain't right. But it's actually easier to bed down an American woman than it is an African woman.
And that's a fact. That is a fact. And you also have to look at it this way. Because a lot of these guys are saying that, oh, when you go to Africa, African women are so easy and stuff like that, right? There is a big difference in culture, but the thing is you also have to ask yourself, why are so many American women having so many different kids by so many kids by so many different men? When in Africa, it's the polar opposite of that. You don't see a bunch of African women have a bunch of kids with a bunch of different men. It doesn't happen that often. So the real question is why is it easier for, to get together with an American woman? Because they are easier. All you have to do is play a game with them, which is basically a mouthpiece, and they're ready to take off their clothes. And you can get these without paying them anything or not, and all that other stuff. when men say they can't get anything or they can't get women in America, there's a whole lot of wrong with them if they can't get a woman. And a lot of it has to do with their behavior, right? And they just don't know how to talk to a woman here in the States, right? But both the men and the women in the States, for the most part, they're broken. They're just broken. And whenever I hear some guy say, "Oh, it's so much easier," no, it's so much easier in Africa when you pay for it because you're paying money. If you go up to a woman who's not a prostitute and you're not looking for prostitutes, it's going to be very hard for you to bed down an African woman, and that's a fact.
Women refuse to get tested for STIs, therefore you cannot know their status. African women will break your arm to go to the STD clinic.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is that if you're serious as a man and you want to make sure you're not spreading or contracting STIs, you try to ask an American woman to go to the clinic with you. She's either going to shut you down right away or make an agreement. But when it's time for the appointment, they're going to go ahead and act as if you never had that conversation, or they're going to say stuff like, "What, you don't trust me?" In Africa, it's the total opposite. You might get some that will say no, but a lot of them will say yes because they want to be that open. It's so much different. It's so much different. It really is. It's just that in Africa that people have more respect for their bodies. They really do.
All right. American women believe men have absolutely no right to refuse a woman for sex. But we don't. American women act like men. Therefore, they have lost all manner of their natural femininity. Women are weak. American women are not sophisticated. And lastly, and this will confuse some people, American women are downright creepy.
That's true. It's very true.
Yo, let me.
If you want me to elaborate, I'll elaborate on that one.
Yeah, let's elaborate on all of them. Clap for Theron Williams. Theron, like, look, dude. Theron, like, is one of those dudes, like.
And the reason I made that list is because I knew most of Oshay's audience are dummies. That's why. And again, like I said towards the beginning, that I was looking to help that one guy that's been looking really hard, couldn't find a woman that's decent enough in America and refuses to get married to accept just anybody. I had to make that list because I couldn't really think of anything else other than to do a list to reach that one guy, just that one guy that's struggling. Not struggling because he can't get anybody, no. Struggling because he doesn't want to settle for somebody who's not marriage material. That's why I made that list.
He has like addicted to the super chat button. Like that, he tries not to push it, but he can't help himself. I think one day he's gonna put like $1 million in there and blow the world up some shit. Appreciate the rhyme, man. Like I said, you guys give a lot as it is. You know what I mean? You guys do a lot for the channel. You know, you're not obligated to do this every fucking time. You know what I mean? Because I really do genuinely like you guys that come in and participate, even if I do roast some sometimes. But thank you again, bro. You know, this comes back to y'all anyway. You know, I always put it back into what we're trying to do. So let's elaborate on all of those. Yeah, Theron is like, he's like a super chat. He's like, you know what? I ain't gonna tell you today.
Okay, well, I mean, the too fat, I mean, how many other countries do you have fat women all over the place besides America? You know, unless it's a really small island where they can't get any running done from one side to the other, American women are fat. They just don't take care of themselves. We talk about this all too often. It is a health concern, not just for the female, but for your kids while she's pregnant. Being fat before pregnancy is a problem. It's just something you're not going to see over there. Playing too many games. I mean, we all know about that. Why do you have to act like a certain way, or try to act like a macho man? That's playing a game in order to get the game. When you can actually have a woman over there to say hello to you, and you can just talk like a normal dude. relax, be like yourself, be like those dudes in the movie Frustrated down in Brazil. You don't have to play those games. That's exactly the way it is in Africa.
Well, let me ask you this. I'll cut you off real quick because
right.
the women in Kenya, I mean, I know they're not so fat. Why do you think that women in Kenya are in much better shape than women in America? Even though Americans more modernized, even though Americans more industrialized, with better gyms and cheaper gyms, why is it that do you think Kenyan women are much more in better shape than those women?
Well, the average Kenyan person, man or woman, does an average of 3 to 5 miles of walking a day. That's pretty much almost as good as Japan. The average person in Japan walks 5 miles a day. That's 10,000 steps.
Damn.
So you think about that. Most people don't own cars. That'd be another big reason for it. However, in Nairobi, just the city of Nairobi, because it's so congested and you really can't just walk to work depending on where you live. There's a lot more people with diabetes in Nairobi than there are in the smaller communities because they're not doing as much walking. They're not eating as, they're eating the fast foods and things of that nature. So they can't wait in line for the better foods. Or they just don't bring their lunch as often as, like, say, some Americans do. But in general, they're eating better. And a lot of Kenyan women, when they come to America, they get fat within the first 6 to 12 months. It's never happened before.
So has your wife been, I'm pretty sure she's been to America before, right?
She's never been to America.
Really?
Really. It's never happened.
Does she want to go?
She says she does, but she never gets on the plane, so I'm not worried about it. After the third try, I said, forget it. I ain't trying no more, and I got my money back all 3 times, thank God. But yeah, I'm not worried about it, and I'm glad because in the long run it saved us both some money. So yeah. So here's the other thing: American women are not loyal. And let me elaborate on that one. Let's just go with the marriage part of that instead of getting too technical with that. Mm-hmm. American women, 20 years or less, usually want a divorce. They want to be independent. And it's not always because they might get a better job someday than their husband. It's because they just don't want to be married anymore. They're getting bored. This and that. They don't want to have children anymore. Or they already had their children so that the guy is no longer useful anymore. Or I want to be single again, and that's it. Those are not attitudes that you're going to get over there. So over there, you're not going to find loyalty over here. The having too many babies thing, that goes without saying by too many men. Women are easy to bed in America. They are just way too easy. Now, they may play games, but all you have to do is play that little game, and they're down in the bed with you the first day. You can't do it in Africa, but over there you don't have to play a game, and a lot of times they're going to say no. You become their boyfriend or whatever, they're going to say no. The other one is getting tested. You say, oh, okay, let's go get tested. They don't want to get tested, or if they agree to it, then they renege on test date. So you definitely, this day and age, you got to know your status no matter what. I don't care who you are or where you're at. You got to know your status. American women believe that men absolutely have no right to refuse them sex, as if, okay, they are the gatekeepers of sex. That is true. If a man doesn't want to do it or is not interested in you, then just let it fly. And to be honest with you, that's a creepy attribute. It really is. If you really think about it, it's pretty creepy. Okay, acting like men, acting like a man, or a man acting like a woman is pretty creepy. It doesn't mean that they're homosexuals, but acting like the opposite sex is not going to get you very far, and you don't see that over there. All right, and American women, always claim that they're strong, this and that. No, when you say you want to be independent and you don't need a man, this and that, that makes you weak. It makes you sound weak. It makes you weak because you always need a man for something. If we didn't have men, we wouldn't have bridges, we wouldn't have roads, we wouldn't have planes so you can take your freaking vacation to Hawaii. You wouldn't have none of that. And of course, not sophisticated. Why are they not sophisticated? Because they don't know how to say hello. They don't know how to come up and shake your hand. They don't know how to keep a marriage intact. They don't know how to keep friendships intact very well. They're not sophisticated at all.
Yeah, and there's a big misconception, both men and women in Western countries. They think they're more sophisticated based on their cultural norms. And I would have to say, each culture has something more sophisticated than the other. So based on the stuff that I'm talking about now, these are the attributes that America is not sophisticated at all, where Africa is very sophisticated. So a lot of people will contribute the word sophistication when it comes to culture with technology. That's not what you call technology. I'm talking about cultural norms, a relationship between a man and a woman. Africa is the most sophisticated place I can think of where marriage is normal. Boyfriend and girlfriend relationships is more normal than anywhere else. There's not a lot of games being played. Doesn't mean that there's not a lot of people messing around nowadays, especially in the big cities like Nairobi, because there are. However, if you wanted to make a comparison on who's marriage material between a woman from New York and a woman from Nairobi, Nairobi's going to win all the time. It's just a fact. When you're brought up differently with cultural norms on how to raise a family and how to be within a family to create, create children to grow up to be, in your image and to be better than you. Africa is that place. And America is great for, more sophistication when it comes to like technology, sure. But culturally, as far as social norms, it's not true. It's not true at all. So this is not a diss when I was saying this, even though my voice might, again, wasn't very good at talking about this and stuff like that, because I never really had to explain it. But I'm much more relaxed nowadays. I can explain it much easier. Is that what I'm saying here is absolutely true then as it is today. And so it's not to put anybody down. It's just telling the truth based on cultural norms. So in the West, marriage is looked at as a business contract, and it's not. But that's how Americans look at it. In Africa, it's something that's expected of you, and it's something that a lot of people actually want and they actually cherish. And they, you know what I mean. It's a totally different attitude from the West to, compared to Africa. Totally different attitude about marriage. And like I said, the West can learn a lot from Africa. Hello, Lucy. Thank you for coming in. The West can learn a lot from Africa when it comes to relationships, either just socially or even in marriage, like seriously.
And then, of course, the creepy part, basically the first 10 and then a whole lot more, women are just creepy. And I'll elaborate on that one seriously. Here's the creepy people. Swirly minions, girls, transracial confused women, cum collectors, Charwilly got me on that one, lazy dirty asses, and wannabe computer engineers, ratchets, drug addicts, murderers, homosexual pedophiles, man stalkers, baby snatchers, fist fighting in parking lots with one bun in the oven and the other, gold.
So for those who don't know what one bun in the oven is in Africa, just in case, that means it's a woman who's pregnant. And there is a video out there that's been around for years of 2 pregnant women, about 7 months pregnant, having a fist fight in a parking lot. No joke. That's in the United States. Are you going to see that in Africa? I ain't never seen that in Africa. I never even heard of that in Africa. Sorry, I just hit the back button again. All right.
Ever, they're going to say no.
I don't know if you remember the
cum collectors. Charwilly got me on that one. Lazy dirty asses, and wannabe computer engineers, ratchets, drug addicts, murderers, homosexual pedophiles, man stalkers, baby snatchers, fist fighting in parking lots with one bun in the oven and the other, gold diggers, dash ass whores, divorce court whores, 501c3 fraudsters, polyamorous YouTube swingers, check fraudsters, car crash texting, Uber drivers, YouTube zombies, and the like. Those are freaking creepy women. Every last one of them, and then some. That's what you're not going to get in Africa. So if you guys are tired and you want to go to Brazil or Africa or somewhere, get your fucking passport. Get on these websites and start talking to these women. Get this different experience.
Now, when Austin Holloman said, get your passport after what he did in Brazil, he didn't get that from me. That was a whole different type of conversation.
What I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to put the website of where I met my wife. Go ahead and click on it. Make a profile. Sign up for the gold membership or whatever. Start speaking to these women, because you're not going to find out any other way unless you take the risk. If you don't take the risk, you're just going to listen to us talk about it. That's just like Oshay. If you want to become, a doctor or somebody in the medical industry, and you don't do anything about it, you're just going to hear Oshay and other people talk about it. Plain and simple.
And I always like to say,
And when I said that about him being a doctor and all that, this is the time in 2016, 17, where he was in medical school. But when in 2017, when he realized he can make a lot of money, he let his medical school go to the side. Basically, he says he graduated, but how can you graduate when you're doing YouTube about 20 hours a day, in school and sleep about the other 4 hours a day? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So he was screwing around. We might get into that at a later time. I don't know. A lot of people already touched on that one, but that's why I brought it up.
I'm tired of hearing you talking about Africa without actually going myself.
You heard that? He's tired of me talking about Africa because he was at my channel watching all my African videos on my other old channel. So again, he's gotten this from me, and basically when it came from me, it kind of spread all over the place, but it spread through the wrong crowd.
I got tired of hearing, search for Uhuru, and shout out to him. I don't know if you know this, but Dynast Amir, me and him, my best friend, which is Dr. Kumbi, that's a search for Uhuru's good friend. They were a year younger than me. So before I came, me and Dr. Kumbi, who's a dentist, we both went to Sacramento State University. What ended up happening was Dynast used to be named Albert Hollis. He was an All-American running back. Google Albert Hollis. It's Dynast Amir. Dude ran, I don't know if you remember the wide receiver that went to my high school, Dante Stallworth. I went to two high schools. One was Christian Brothers. One was Grant. Grant was my public school I went to after that. So Dynast came a year after I left my freshman year. But me and Dr. Kumbi are like really close best friends. He's the one that got me to come to medical school. And so Dynast and Kumbi did all 4 years together at Christian Brothers High School. So me and Dynast know absolutely the same people. We've never met personally. We're from the same city, went to the same high school, and missed each other. And so he really was speaking to me because he's been over there. We're from the same area. He's been all over. He's been to Mali. He's been to Senegal. He's been to Kenya. He's been to Namibia. He went to South Africa. Where else did he go? He went to Tanzania. And I believe he went to Benin. So I got tired of hearing him talk about it. I got tired of hearing about you talk about it. I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going.
Sometimes you need people to keep saying things that you get sick and tired of hearing, and you just go and do it just so you can think about it. And then people are going to be sick and tired of you saying something about it. Then they're going to go do it. And then there's always going to be that majority, unfortunately, that are just going to sit on the sidelines and say, man, I wish I could have done what they did when I had the chance.
Yeah. So I'm nervous. I'm actually nervous. I'm nervous about going. I'm nervous about other things. But thank you, JPV, for encouraging me. What else on that list do we need to go in about?
Okay, so here's a few things. When you get your gold membership, guys, read these women's profiles. I mean, a lot of them, so you can get to know them. And basically, you need to ask them questions to kind of get the answers that you're looking for. And so let me give you an example, because I had to write some of this up last night so I wouldn't forget. Let's see. Okay, so for example, I'm just going to give one example, in just so you won't get like a divorce. You know, in other words, you know, if she's
Disclaimer, there's no guarantee that you won't get a divorce. This is just my advice because it works very well if you do it right. That way you can be hooked up with the right person. So listen very closely to what I say because it actually worked for me and it's worked for other people.
totally against divorce, instead of asking her outright, she agrees with divorce or not, ask her in a way that does not come off as a question in order to get the answer you're really looking for. So use a statement like these. I got a couple here. So you can be the guy saying just something random like this in a conversation. My friend divorced her husband because she no longer wanted to be married. Now that's a statement, but really for you, that's a question to see what type of answer. Another one would be like, my best friend's cousin's wife divorced him because she got a job where she is now making more money. Therefore, she felt he was no longer the man or the head of the household, which a lot of American women divorce their husbands for. Depending on what type of answer, if she says something like, for example, you know, that's pretty disgusting. You know, here in Africa, we don't do stuff like that. And why would you discard your man? I mean, isn't he the father of your children? That's the type of woman you want. You don't want this opportunist feminazi saying, well, I want my children, but then, you know, if I'm going to make more money than you later on down the road, I want to divorce you. This is what you're going to get over there. So those are the types of questions you need to ask. Create your own and use it as a statement. Ask it as a statement. Okay, so that way they know it's not a question. That way they know that you're not probing them. Okay.
Now, also, just to be fair, I've had women hear me say this before, and they've asked me, you know, because, you know, they're looking for a man that, you know, they're trying to look for men who are serious, right? I told them the exact same thing. You got to ask these men statements, your questions within a statement. So that way you don't have to worry about as much, you know, getting somebody that's going to play around with your time or going to use you for the money that you have. You know what I mean? Or try to use your place as free rent so he can just not go out and try to find work and just sleep around the house all day. So I've said the same thing to women that were looking for men, not just men that were looking for women. So it works both ways. It really does.
Okay. And that will also keep the visa chasers away from you. You know, because you don't want somebody that just wants to come to America and then leave you because they're waiting for somebody else over there or they just want to go to college. All right. And those ones are pretty easy to spot. So other than that, man, just go to afrointroductions.com and just start plugging away. You know, get rid of your Netflix account for a few months and spend it over there. And get your fucking passport.
Okay.
That's about it.
That's about it. Let's see.
And the other reason, now I said get your effing passport at least 3, maybe 4 times during this session, right? So the reason I said that is because you got so many guys that just talk, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and they never do it, right? Or they wish they can do this and they wish they can do that, but they don't want to put in the effort to try to actually do it. It's no different than trying to study for something like cybersecurity, right? So I'm not into cybersecurity. I am looking into it, but if you don't put in the time and work in order to study and do some stuff like practical examples and stuff like that, you're never going to make it there. If you don't take on mentors to help you out and stuff like that, you're never going to make it there. So it's no different with somebody like actually getting off their lazy ass, going to apply for a passport, saving up money, get your itinerary going, and just choose a place where you want to go and just see things for yourself instead of living your dreams through other people's lenses. You know what I mean? Or through other people's conversations. If it's something you really like, you can go and do it yourself. Doesn't mean you have to do it like, you know, once every month like some people, because either they're struggling to do it and they just happen to do it, or they got the means to do it. But you're going to have to do something if you want it done at all. So that's the reason why I said just get your effing passports like 3 or 4 times so far.
What else we have going on in the chat? Let me check here. Let's see what we got also. So once again, guys, I need so 104 watching people. Let's get 7 more people to like it, the video. 7 more likes, and it will be at 100 likes for the total video. Shout out to Black Men, Mr. Black Man. He made a video to a Nigerian woman, and then I kind of doubled back on it. It was a very good video, Mr. Black. So, you know what? Let me say this: being an African American person, and meeting the people that I met on YouTube, there was nobody. I can honestly say this about YouTube. YouTube is so powerful. I didn't have any of my friends who actually ever wanted to travel anywhere. It wasn't until I came on YouTube that I met people like Junk Power Video, people like Black Men taking our community back. Yeah, your rebuttal was great. You talking about my rebuttal or your rebuttal? Your rebuttal was excellent. People like Black Men taking our community back. People like Marcus Brown. I mean, you meet.
It's almost done, guys. So he's kind of dragging on, but we got a few more minutes and we'll be done.
A different quality of people, man, that can give you information and you can kind of grow. I've grown so much on YouTube, man. As a person, I can honestly say that Ringo TV Wall definitely, people like that are really, really have have helped me see.
Yeah, that's correct, Diasporan. That's exactly correct. I mean, it's no different whether if you're going to meet that person in person at your local library or you're going to use the library over at Afro Introductions. You do have to have your due diligence. You have to work it, because without that, I mean, it's common sense. You got to protect yourself. While at the same time, you got to be respecting the person that you're interacting with, right? It comes down to a lot of respecting the other person you're meeting, but at the same time, you got to respect yourself enough to protect yourself. And if you don't have respect for yourself, you can't have respect for the other person on the other end that you're trying to talk to. So, yeah, I appreciate your comment.
Different things, man. Yeah, that's you, nigga. Black is night, same thing. So I thank all of you for helping me broaden my horizons. Like personally, John Powell Video. I never thought I would go to Africa. I was interested, thinking I would go one day, but I'm going. I can honestly say it's really been because of the conversations I've had about John Powell Video. I know I've come off in years past that I didn't like Africans or I had a problem with Africans, but I think I speaking from an African American experience dealing with.
You see that? He admitted in the past, he had problems with Africans or he didn't like Africans. In the past, he either had problems with Africans or he didn't like Africans. So I wasn't joking when I said this. This is coming from him directly, because he knows I've watched those videos. A lot of people have heard him talk nonsense about Africans for no damn reason. And he's worse today than he was back then. Way worse. Way worse. And that's why people like Nana Kwaku was on him. What was it? A couple weeks back when he did that live stream when he was drunk, talking about Wode Maya and other Africans in such a disparaging way. But he does that many times. He's going to continue to do that. So he's not going to stop doing it, because that's not Oshay. He doesn't stop doing things like that.
Africans, you have they have a certain way they think about you and you about them. I don't think people like my approach, but nevertheless, we're all in the same situation. I think as all Black people, I think we should try to get to know each other and try to understand the customs and people, of all races, not just Black. I'm going to Uganda, Eric. So again, anything else you want to say, John Powell?
Yeah. I'm trying to actually work with another YouTube creator called Goshen Acquisitions Limited in Kenya. One Mr. Solomon, who's the CEO of that company. His channel, it's kind of hard to tell if it's Goshen Acquisitions and own land in Kenya. But basically, he tells people exactly how to buy land in Kenya if you're ever thinking about doing it. And I think even if you don't plan to move to Kenya, but maybe somewhere else and you want to buy land, I think hearing it from an African businessman who's actually buying and selling land there and going through like the rules and the laws would be a great avenue of hearing it from somebody who's there. instead of hearing it from somebody that might be in India or the US. But I'm trying to use his videos, trying to get his permission. He contacted me today. I think he wants me to sign some type of agreement. I'm not sure. But if so, I'm going to use some of his videos if he agrees to let me do it. So that way you get an insight. Otherwise, just go to Goshen Acquisitions Limited and just watch his videos, because he's very informative. I'm going to pull the trigger to go out there, at least in Kenya anyway. Look the guy up.
Okay, so Mr. Solomon from that company, I didn't really pursue him much after I've spoke with Oshay, because I don't know, something just told me, this is before I actually knew what Oshay was doing, but something just told me that maybe I shouldn't. And I'm glad that I did not, because the amount of people that we've seen over the past 6 years going to places like the Gambia, Ghana, and Kenya, and specifically with Kenya, we had JT, the bigger figure, who is actually a kind of a low-tier American rapper that's worked with Snoop Dogg, go over to Kenya, and he was doing land scams, scamming Americans. He wasn't even a citizen. You can't even sell land in Kenya as a non-citizen. It's illegal. So he was doing that over there. He fled from Kenya. He had a lawyer over there that he actually tried to get implicated in his scam, and she had to drop him because, you know, if she would have got caught up in something like he wanted her to do, she would have lost her license, could have gone to jail and all that other stuff. So, yeah, I started thinking about that stuff before a lot of that stuff started happening. It was a gut feeling that, you know what, I'm going to leave Mr. Solomon alone on this, because something to me just doesn't feel right about doing it, because based off of Oshay's audience, I didn't want to encourage Oshay's audience to start getting over there, because what I've noticed even before the internet is that there were some people from other countries going to Africa, doing their own scams, scamming people from their own country. And I was seeing this on Facebook. Okay. So this is long before I came to YouTube. So I had to think about it and say, you know what, with YouTube, it might even get worse than Facebook. And I was right. And I'm glad I didn't reach out to him. He didn't respond to the couple emails I sent him. So that's that.
No.
Also, if you want, man, have him reach me out. I'll give him a hangout if you want. So we can definitely do that. Also, so I'll be glad to work with him. But for everybody who wants to, after this chat, Minister Jap is now streaming. So you guys know what I like to do. Angry Man is streaming. I'll shut my stream down until he's done. And then now Minister Jap has a stream. Okay. All right. Shout out to Gilla. So if you guys want to check out, Minister Jap, and then maybe I might come on later on the night if Mr. Black's still on. So let's go, everybody, if you can, go to Minister Jap's channel. He's about to stream right now, so we have to support the YouTubers in that way. Thank you again, John Powell Video, for coming on. You guys go to John Powell Video, subscribe. You'll be in the description link. Thanks again, bro. I really appreciate you stream. I learned a whole lot.
No problem. And I just like to thank everybody that was watching and asking all the questions. I know I didn't get to read all of them or be able to answer them all, but much appreciated anyway. And thanks for supporting Oshay.
Okay, cool. So everybody, let's head over to Minister Jap's channel, man. Jap's getting ready to stream. So like I said, whenever Angry Man is streaming, I won't stream and he won't stream. So Jap's getting ready to stream. I'm gonna end my stream. Let's go over and support Minister Jap. He's gonna have a good show. And thanks again, JPV. Appreciate you and everybody else. All right.
No problem. Cheers.
Cheers. Peace.
Okay, so that's what it was. That is what it was. Let me remove this here. So I do appreciate everybody coming in. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Again, look forward to another reaction. I'm looking towards this next week, Sunday, doing another Oshay reaction on a different video. And I hope to see you all there. Hope to see more people. Go ahead and share this out. Use clips from this video, whatever you want to do. I don't mind. And other than that, I will see you on the next one. I'm Mr. Nice with Kung Fu Fanta, the podcast, and we are out. Cheers.
Sa City. To nobody. Hey, men down home. Asabi ala wom down down home. I late to a fear on the down home. At the panel bobu on the tobo. Hey, put your right side BN. I this is a nagi 10 billion. Bagare, la more Casio. My one task I be at the patio. Solo kuya de. Ya yeti ono ntira da ya to mu shashamali ni nyomo no onya tekum ana mo pede me kanu go beregum koto se pense di o je bete me mpede me nyimo bo peji to ye bi ha mi koti fufu na koto de solo kuye de